You're listening to the Beans and Dice podcast, a podcast about how we game.
And that's how we game.
Yeah, give Carlos a moment to get dressed here. He's still getting dressed.
You know? Rob comes over.
Got to call it out. Yeah, well, clothes come off. That's what I do.
Why I didn't come
Welcome,
over tonight,
everybody.
Thursday Night Live call-in show. Beans and Dice podcast. I'm Carlos.
I'm Rob.
I'm Wayne.
And tonight we're going to talk about May the 4th be with you.
Woo, Star Wars stuff.
It's official. Oh, look at that.
Oh, Wayne's got his shirt on. So I had a shirt, but I covered it up. Mine says, May the 4th be with you, but...
I'm still moving some equipment around. I was out at a family event for the evening, so Rob and I are just showing up to the studio.
Last minute setup here. So, yep, we just refocused some cameras, turned on some mics, and here we are.
Whole bottle of wine on the show.
Oh, yeah, move it out of the way. Yeah.
I went to my father-in-law's for my mother-in-law's birthday celebration, and of course, he always sends me home with a bottle of wine. So he keeps cases at the house.
I brought beers tonight, and then Wayne doesn't show up, and then Carlos has already had a few, so he was declining, so I'm drinking by myself. But that's all right.
No, I will be drinking.
Oh, you will be drinking later.
I
Okay.
just figured a glass of water might be a good idea in between.
Yeah, maybe.
Responsible drinking.
Probably a good idea, yeah.
Good idea. Yeah. Anyway, Thursday night call-in show. Thanks for joining us. Our normal Thursday night thing. We're going to talk some stuff that we have noted. I know there's some in the news things, at least a few things, and then we're also going to talk some Star Wars tonight. May the 4th be with everyone, and we'll probably talk some Star Wars games. We might get into some movies and some other Star Wars culture stuff. But as always, the Thursday night call-in show, we want to talk about whatever you want to talk about. So if you don't like what we're talking about, call in, change the subject, or call in and talk to us about what we've got going on. So anything gaming related, nerd related, Star Wars related, any of that good stuff.
I think that's the best part of the show.
Yeah, just chat.
Is if you don't like what we're talking about,
Call in and
you
change
have the opportunity to
Change
call
it up.
in and change it completely.
Change it up. Ron does that for us every week, which is a good thing. Ron gives us some interesting topics that we didn't even know he was coming to the table with most of the time. And so be Ron. Be like Ron.
All right, one of the things that I wanted to at least open up the conversation with is to go around the horn, talk about some of our favorite Star Wars games, some of our not favorite Star Wars games.
I like most of them.
You know?
Yeah.
I know Michael was going to join us, but he could not make it. But he was not a huge fan of all the Star Wars games that are out there. Just to kind of prime that conversation, get us going.
You know what's interesting is I looked through my entire board game collection. I don't have one Star Wars game.
I've got about 4 or 5.
Not one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got 400 games on the shelf, and I had not one Star Wars game.
I've got
And
about
what's funny, 'cause I'm a
125. I've
pretty
got
big
several.
Star Wars fan, but yeah,
Yeah.
I don't own one. Like I was like, man, how do I not own a single Star Wars game? And then I realized that there's not a lot of good ones out there.
That's
a few.
Not great ones. I'd say there's several
There's some
good
good
ones.
ones. There's
Yeah.
some good ones, but there's not a lot of great ones out there.
Yeah.
We show us a good list we can use to go and figure it out.
Probably just go to Board Game Geek and type in Star Wars.
Star Wars. Yeah. Just see whatever falls out of the pop-up. Yeah. Whatever suggestions come up. But
Wayne, have you played a Star Wars board game?
Yeah. So I was thinking. So we played the Star Wars Outer Rim.
Yep.
Which was good. It was a little long, but it was an entertaining game. It was very much like the Firefly game.
Yep.
I remember playing the Star Wars miniatures game a couple of times. Way
was that
back
one
when it first came out.
called?
Star Wars X-Wing miniatures.
Oh, the X-Wing one?
X-Wing
Oh,
one?
the
X-Wing
X-Wing
ones,
one.
yeah.
Okay.
Like way
Yeah,
back
there's
in
been a
the
couple
day.
of them, I guess. Yeah.
Or Armada. Yeah, I didn't do the Armada. Imperial Assault maybe once. So the miniatures games, a couple of those.
Yep.
And that's really it. Like I'm looking through the list now. I mean, I can share. I mean, Board Game Geek, if you just type in Star Wars, it basically comes up with all the ones.
Yeah, Carlos is pulling it up right now.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the
he's
highest
sharing.
rated one is ranked number 9, Star Wars Rebellion.
I own
which
that one. Yeah.
I have not played yet, but it was funny. I was watching Paul Grogan from Game Rules.
Yep.
The guy writes rule books for a living.
Yep.
He was playing it on stream live, and he was even getting confused by some of the rules. And he's like, "Wait, what is this now? Or how does this? What?" So I was like, "Oh man, that's interesting." Like, where a guy who writes rule books for a living gets confused by the rule book.
Yeah.
I'm like, that,
Okay,
that-
so I struggle with the idea that he's getting confused with that. And the reason I say that is FFG.
Okay.
FFG put out Star Wars Rebellion. They did buy a Star Wars license early on. I guess early on as in more recently. They're the most recent owner of Star Wars
IP.
gaming license.
Yeah.
And I tend to find that FFG writes really good rule books because it'll always come with a starting, like start here rule book that gives you kind of the gist of everything you need to know to play the game. Like here's how the game is played, here's how the phases go, here's what you need to start your first game.
Yeah.
And then they include a second rule book that they tend to call the rules reference.
Yeah.
And that has everything alphabetically organized for every keyword, every phase, every event, everything that has to do with the rules that you can look up as you need. So for him to be confused at the way FFG writes the rule books is kind of confusing to me.
Yeah. Yeah, they tend to do good. I can't remember Rebellion. It's been a little while since I played. I think it does have 2 rule books. I think there was a how to play and then a rules reference. Yeah.
I don't know if they were trying to incorporate the expansion too, maybe, but there was a couple times where maybe I just looked over at the right times when they were like, "What's going on?" But he was even asking the chat, like, say, "Is it? Anyone play this? What does this card mean, or what does this card actually do?" Or it just doesn't seem like it's fully explained here. But and that's really the only experience I have of actually watching the game played, so I can't really judge it on that. But I have a lot of people have said that it's a good game. It's probably the highest rated Star Wars game, and I haven't played it, so it's kind of a bad thing.
Well, it's currently ranked at number 9.
Number 9 all time. Wow.
Top 10 all time.
Yep.
That's crazy.
I think Robert would put it up there-ish.
Yeah, pretty high. Yeah.
Robert would probably put it up there higher than I did. I think he enjoyed it more than I did. I remember he and I played once. I think Robert, you played a few more times
I played
than
a couple
I had.
times, yeah.
And I think I struggled with it because the combat mechanism in the base game was not fulfilling.
That gets fixed in the expansion. The main purpose of the expansion was to fix the combat mechanism, and so I have not actually played the expansion. I played.
You bought it.
I bought it. I own it.
After I complained, you bought it, and we were supposed to go back and play it.
Yep. And I read the rules a couple times for it, and just never got back to playing it after that. So, but I played a couple times just the regular old base game without the expansion, and it was good then. But the combat was a clear weakness of the game, and I mean, it's been years now since the expansion's been out, but for years I've been hearing that that completely fixed the combat. So if that was your only beef, then this completely fixes that. So yeah.
I think part of the other problem for me on that game is it is a hidden, like you're hiding your base, you're trying to
hide and seek,
bluff the other player. The rebels are hiding their rebel base. The Empire is trying to seek out that rebel base, and as they draw cards with different planets on them, they begin to narrow down where that base is located on where they need to attack. And having been a friend of Robert for almost 20 years,
oh yeah,
like he knows me, and I struggle with being able to lie to Robert. Like he knows when I'm lying.
Yeah,
so that
you have to play the Empire. Is that
might be it?
Yeah,
I need to play the Empire.
Maybe
I like playing the Rebels, and when I played the Rebels, I'm like, no, I'm not on Lothal. That's no way. Why would I ever be on Lothal? Why are you going to Lothal, Robert?
Getting sweating as I get closer and closer and start moving. Am I going this direction? He starts twitching. I know. All right, that's pretty good. Yeah, I think I'm going over there.
That's stress. Like it just made it not fun for me.
But Rebellion is clearly Star Wars in a box, and again, I'm stealing that because that's been used for years. I've heard that over and over. But you are playing through Star Wars. Your cards are actually like playing scenes in Star Wars. You're capturing. I mean, you can do different things. I mean, you can capture Princess Leia instead of Han Solo, so that you can, there's some variance, there's some freedom there. It's not on rails, but you're actually playing out scenes from the game. You can alter how it goes, but it's pretty cool. It is extremely thematic.
Yeah, it's number 9 on the list. As we go down the list, the next Star Wars game on the list is going to be Star Wars Imperial Assault.
You own that one?
Which I would put Star Wars Imperial Assault above Rebellion. I would.
I wouldn't, but yeah.
I know you wouldn't.
Yeah.
But, I'm more of a miniature wargamer, Wayne. You know this about me. Let's see here. Wayne speaks of heresy.
Oh, yeah.
Xeno.
Well, I wonder what specific comment it was, but it was probably the comment about most of their games are just miniature games or that they don't really have any great games. And I looking at the list, though, and we're going to go through it, it does seem like a disproportionate number of Star Wars games are miniatures based.
Which it kind of
makes sense.
It fits it. Like you think about the world of Star Wars, and that gets us to Imperial Assault. Imperial Assault was based off of Descent 2nd Edition.
Yep.
Descent 2nd Edition is a 1 versus many dungeon crawler. What Imperial Assault did is it turned it into a Star Wars 1 versus many dungeon crawler. Effectively, except for like it makes you feel like it's not a dungeon crawler because the tiles are maybe outdoor spaces, but literally you're still limited to maybe an 8x8 space.
Yeah.
Right. It feels like a dungeon crawler
Yeah.
because you're not.
Feels like Descent.
It's
Yeah.
not open world where you're running around anywhere outside. You're limited to these tiles that say how many spaces there are, what obstructions are there, and the bad guy, the Imperial player, is going to play cards to spawn different Imperial baddies like Imperial droids, stormtroopers, lieutenants, ATSTs, right? Not ATATs, but ATSTs, the smaller two-footed ones that you remember from Endor, right? You spawn all those baddies, and you're going to play them against the 4 other players. The 4 other players have Star Wars themed characters that they play. They're not specifically from the movies, although you will have events where Chewbacca, where Luke Skywalker, where Han Solo maybe comes into your mission and helps the Rebel players a little bit.
Just make a little cameo in and out.
But I might have Vader show up in that adventure to help me out a little bit, right? So that's the Star Wars Imperial Assault. But the reason I put Star Wars Imperial Assault above Rebellion is because it came in the 2 modes. That game came as a 1 versus many. 3 modes. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Dungeon crawl, 1 versus many, or you can play it fully co-op.
Co-op, yeah.
Where the computer runs the Empire. So we really work together. We have no negative feelings about each other because we're having fun.
Well, you can still have negative feelings.
Or my favorite version, skirmish battle, which included tournaments. They had organized events. They had world championships where both players would come up with a team. And it could be Rebel on Rebel. It could be Empire on Empire, Empire versus Rebel, whatever. You created your team and you had a map that was specifically laid out in a certain fair manner. And you just had a war game, a miniature war game across the table from each other that you can compete in. So it gave you 3 modes in one box. Like, you can't beat that. The money's there. That's Star Wars Imperial Assault. Are you familiar with it at all, Wayne?
I know I played it once when it first came out, probably at a conference or at a tournament or something like that, or not a tournament, but a game shop. But it was fun. I enjoyed it. You know, as much as I do like miniature skirmish battle games, I don't play an awful lot of them. I'm much more a Euro guy, but
Yeah,
it's
me
a
too.
good game. You know, I guess that's probably why I haven't played a lot of Star Wars games. Is they tend to be those miniature games, and those tend to be hard to get to the table because a lot of these games, though, like all right, Star Wars Rebellion's 2-player, really, right?
Yeah.
This tends to be, I think, Imperial Assault. While you can do 1 versus many, whatever, kind of probably is best at like 2 or 3. And usually, if you game night, you get 5, 6 people, 7 people over. You're not going to play a lot of those games.
See, but Wayne, if you were a jerk like me, you'd have less friends. So it'd just be like you and one friend.
There you go.
Yeah.
Just narrow them down. Well, next we got one of our passions.
Before we jump in there, we got a question in the chat.
Oh, okay, question.
We got James Odak in the chat. Could you say that the best Star Wars video game is Lego Star Wars?
I own about 6 of them in that series, so I would probably say yes. Yes.
I would say no.
No?
Oh, what's your favorite Star Wars video game?
Knights of the Old Republic.
Oh my God,
I
that's a
played that.
throwback.
That's way back. It was 80s, maybe?
No,
80s, early 90s?
90s, 2000s.
It was too open world for my AD
KOTOR?
self.
Knights of the
I
Old
gotta look that
Republic
up.
wasn't really. It was pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I just get too flighty.
Oh, no, I finished it. I remember, but
I didn't
gosh,
fit-
I mean,
think
also then I could say Star Wars Galaxies, which was an MMO that I played way too much of.
Oh, I didn't play that one.
My answer
I was
is
Final Fantasy on
Before
that.
y'all give more of them, my answer is Star Wars Battlefront. Like the
Yeah.
OG Star Wars Battlefront.
I didn't like that much.
What?
Yeah.
With the droidicas running around and you just respawn and fight.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
No consequences for your actions.
No, I love it. I love it. I'm gonna run in. Leroy Jenkins, and then die, and then respawn and do it again
No.
until the bars went down to 0.
Knights of the Old Republic 2003.
Oh, it was 2003.
Yeah.
Holy mackerel. Wow, that's a lot later than I was thinking.
Like you started off on like a crashed shuttle or something, right?
Yeah, kind of the first opening scene. There was a bunch
Like a
of
jungle?
There was a battle between the Sith and the
I never
Jedi.
passed that level. I ran around the jungle like, what do I do now?
Is that one you played? Was his name Kyle something? Was it?
I think
I can't remember the
so. It's a
main
long
character's
time
name.
ago.
Odak says his favorite was Galactic Battlegrounds.
Now,
I'm not
if
familiar
it's
with that one.
if that's the one that's kind of like a real-time strategy where you're going, yeah, that's what it was. It was like a real-time RTS, kind of like there was a Dune version of it too, where you go to a planet and it's like Rebellion versus Empire, and you have to build machines, and the machines to then build more you have to basically wipe the guy off the mat. It was cool. I remember that one.
All right, that was a good detour into the video game world. Thanks to Jim Odak for the question there. Star Wars X-Wing miniatures game. Robert and I lived this game
for a couple years.
For at least 2 years.
Yeah, 2-3 years.
More me.
You started
than
before
Rob.
I did. Yeah.
We went to tournaments. We drove around all over the country.
Up and down the East Coast. Yeah.
I rode my 50cc scooter.
Tried to. You made it about a third of the way, maybe, if that.
All the way up the state of Florida, dang near to Georgia, to get to a tournament for a Star Wars X-Wing game.
Yep. And then you didn't quite make it the rest of the way. You brought your tent, and you were going to plan to camp out.
I did camp. I did camp at Itchituttony Springs in Florida, near the Florida-Georgia line.
And then you realize when you get out of Florida, there's hills.
That's what I found out. When I got to North Georgia and found out that we have hills in Florida, my 300-pound Puerto Rican self on a 50cc scooter,
motor scooter, not quite going to make it up the side of some of those little mountains up there in Georgia.
So I'm going up the hills, right? And I'm realizing behind me, all I did was create this traffic jam of cars because I couldn't go on the interstate. I couldn't go on the interstate with that scooter.
No, that's
so it was all 2-lane roads. So nobody could pass me up the hill. Because as you know, when you're going up a hill in a 2-lane road, it's always no passing, right? They don't want you in the passing lane. So they all got stuck behind me, and I'd see this row of cars. So at the top of the hill, I'd have to pull over and let all these cars and trucks go by. That's what X-Wing did for me. Like X-Wing got me to a place, and luckily my mom came and picked me up.
Yeah, so mommy called.
I called my mom when I realized that I was not going to make it up the hills to Georgia. Because I had like R2D2'd out my scooter, my motor scooter, Yamaha C3, was it a C3? Yamaha C3 50cc scooter. I had it all decked out like R2D2. It was blue. It was awesome. And I really wanted to drive that thing up to the tournament. And when I realized I couldn't make it, I had to call my mom to pick me up. And then I caught a ride with Zeno. Zeno says he remembers that trip.
Oh, yeah.
My mom brought me back to Tampa at like 4 or 5 in the morning. And then I jumped over with Zeno at like 7 in the morning, and we drove up with a few friends to Georgia, made it in time for the tournament, where we ended up losing. That was the Sweat for Fett.
I didn't go to that one.
No, you didn't.
Nope.
That Star Wars X-Wing, it should be higher up on the list. 149 is super low.
Gosh,
pretty
yeah.
It was
high,
a
man.
great miniatures game.
10,000 games on Board Game Geek, and it's in the top 200. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And Zeno's trying to get me back into it. He
keeps trying.
He's just got back in 2.0, second edition.
Yeah.
He's trying to get me back in.
talking
All right, Outer Rim, that's the next one. We got 2 minutes before we open up the phone lines. Outer Rim, we just played it all.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on Outer Rim, Wayne?
Oh, it was really good. I mean, I liked it. It was a little long, but I think that was first time I was playing. I don't know if and we were playing with the expansion.
It tends
we
to
were-
run
we
that
were-
long. Carlos and I
Yeah.
were talking afterwards that in a 4-player game that's going to be a long game. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say it was really good. It was. I see where people compare it to the Firefly game, but I think it definitely was an improvement upon the Firefly game. Definitely want to play it again. I think I want to play it again with 3 players, like the 3 of us or 3 people. Because
I think at 3 it'll shine.
Yeah, we can do it at 3. That'd be fun.
I always said I'd never play it at 4 again, but then Ron drove down from Georgia, so we would play it at 4.
Yeah.
it was good.
I think at 3 is right, that sweet spot with time.
And part of it was the 3 of us, and Ron kind of BSing and chatting and talking.
Yeah, just hanging out.
out and having a good time. So it wasn't a big deal. It didn't feel long, but it felt like the game didn't feel long, but it felt like the end game could have sped up a little faster.
Has anybody played the Star Wars card game? I remember that was an FFG title as well.
I don't think so.
It was like an LCG they created, similar to the Lord of the Rings card game.
Yeah, but nope.
Supposed to be. No, I haven't played it.
No, okay.
Armada?
Armada. I thought that was going to be the second coming of Star Wars X-Wing.
Do you still have Armada?
No, I sold it all.
You sold it off.
I got
Okay.
rid of all of
Yeah.
it. I sold it all to Pete, our buddy
Okay.
Pete.
Yeah. Mhm.
He bought all of it from me
Okay.
because it was, if Star Wars X-Wing was your checkers, Star Wars Armada was your chess.
Capital ships and
Yes.
slow movement.
And I think the mechanism that stood out in Star Wars Armada, Wayne, check this out. Depending on the ship you had a stack of dials. In X-Wing, you have 1 dial per ship, right? One dial per ship.
Yeah.
You lock in your move, and then you reveal your moves in initiative order, and all the ships move. Like a dogfight, right? I'm going to bank left. Well, I'm going to bank right, right? And I'm going to try to get out of your way. In Armada, depending on your ship's maneuverability, you had a stack of dials. So if you had like a Star Destroyer, they had them, and I won a Star Destroyer at a tournament against Max Burns. I beat him, and I won the Star Destroyer. I remember that. But the Star Destroyer had 5 dials. So you had to lock in every maneuver you made 5 turns ahead. So like if you wanted to move left, you needed to know you wanted to move left 5 turns ago.
Yeah.
Right? Or if you wanted to like put energy into the shields, you needed to know that 5 turns ago. Like you have to really plan ahead on your maneuvers. And then it came with this cool dial or a maneuver template that had articulating arms.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
That was one of the downfalls of the game. People did not like that whole
I
having to
loved
click
it.
this once to the left, click the next time 3 times to the right, then click the next leg.
If you wanted to move your ship around, you had to move this articulating arm in a certain manner so that it emulated Age of Sail. Y'all know I love Age of Sail.
Yeah, there you go.
It emulated like Age of Sail games where those ships just couldn't turn on a dime.
Some drift.
You couldn't be like, Dom Toretto from Fast and Furious and Tokyo Drift. You had to like really plan your moves.
Was there a way to combine Armada with the X-Wing game to have capital ships and small ships, or was that
It had small ships.
They had small ships.
And they were super tiny.
Yeah, they were little teeny
I
tiny.
don't know if you remember the ships that I brought out during our game of Outer Rim.
Yeah,
Those
I
little
remember
tiny
those.
ships. Those were ships from the Armada game.
Okay.
I repurposed them for my Outer Rim game. So you see how tiny the little ships are. So you had all these. It was cool because you had these big ships, right? You had the home ship. You had the Star Destroyers, right? And you were sending out these little squadrons of small ships. So the squadrons would have little battles of fighters. Meanwhile, the big ships were lobbing cannons at each other, like you remember from the more recent Star
Attack of
Wars
the Clones
franchises.
and
Yeah.
I'm going to open up the phone lines because
Yeah,
I know
get that
we're going
phone line
online.
book.
Phone lines are open.
Hey, only 2 minutes late. We're
813-618-7099. If you want to jump in on the Star Wars talk.
And I liked X-Wing a lot better because X-Wing was faster paced. It was more reactive. It was more from turn to turn to turn. You're changing your plans. Like you say, Armada was a lot of pre-planning. You had to think 3, 4, 5 turns ahead. You had to count for drift and slow, long turns of your ships and that kind of stuff. And if I remember, there were different actions you could do. It wasn't just,
Yes,
so
you were
preloading
taking actions
and-
to charge up the weapons or charge up the shields.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Or repair damage.
Move your shields around from the front to the back or the sides or whatever.
Yes.
So it was a lot more going on.
It was a good game.
Give me some X-Wing. X-Wing, let's
But it
throw
took
down
3
some
hours.
dials. Yeah.
It took 3 hours to play Armada.
Yeah, Armada was a longer.
But I know
thought-out game.
we like Rob and I played a half a game of the new Star Wars card game, which was
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah, it's good.
And
Well,
then
let's see where it is on the list.
And it's brand
So,
new, so it can't be.
Star
up
Wars
there, yeah.
Destiny showed up at
Destiny's-
$5.89.
That's the dice one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. Brian Zeno's got to chime in.
Oh yeah.
Let's
yeah.
do
There
it.
you
Beats and Dice podcast. What's going on, Mr.
I
Zeno?
couldn't wait to jump on this one.
I bet.
Talk to me, homie.
Show's yours.
All right, which one you want to go over first?
Up to you.
It's your show now. You called in. The show becomes yours when you call in.
Okay, first let's talk about that trip.
That's not a game, or maybe it was a game.
Dude, I don't think I've ever laughed so hard, dude. Anyway, yeah.
And what sucked is Zeno and I drive all the way up there, and then we get paired
Oh,
against
yeah.
each other.
Oh, in the first round.
Like-
No. That wasn't the Sweat for Fat. No, that was the
that
one
was
we
a
went
different
after.
one. Yes.
Yeah, we drove and we stayed at one of your relatives' house
Okay. Yeah.
because your wife went and the kids went too.
I remember that. Yeah, we stayed, and you snored like a heathen in the living room.
Like a champ.
Yeah. Well, the last con we went to, the guy said it sounded like when I snore like I'm fighting a demon or something.
Wow.
And when I don't breathe, they wonder if I lost or not. But anyway.
And that was Star Wars X-Wing up in, was it Gigabytes? I think is the name of the cafe.
Gigabytes Cafe, yeah.
Yeah, X-Wing had a great run for Star Wars games.
That was
That's
fun.
That's a great one to bring up.
Yeah. All right. Which
Yeah,
one's
well, I'm definitely getting back into it again. Now that that Atomic Mass is bringing it all back to championships and stuff. We've been playing it. We've been going out to Dark Side to their tournaments, and Critical Hits has been having it, and then we've been playing it. We went to Max's house and played for a little bit. So we practice probably 2 or 3 times a week now here.
nice?
Yeah, I saw Max last weekend, and he told me all about it. And it's so close for me to bust it out. So close.
But you're the
I need
first
to
one
have
we
you over.
decided we're going to try to re-indoctrinate.
There you go. Well, yeah, you and Max need to come over. We didn't have a game day at the house.
Yeah, I'll jump in.
Have
We'll
some
do
food.
4 2-on-2.
Oh, Rob was all about.
Throw it up.
Rob was good at X-Wing.
I was hit and miss. Really good or really bad?
Well, the dice. The dice always screwed you.
Dice screwed me, yeah.
But when it came to
Yeah, that happens to all
predicting
of us.
what maneuver
People told me
the
constantly.
opponent would make,
Yeah, and vice versa. People always told me, there's no way I thought you were going to do that. And 9 times out of 10, people go the other way. Like, well, yeah, there you go. So,
and then the other thing about it, Rob would figure out what you're doing,
yeah.
and he would put himself in a place to either block you or be in where he can fire at you, but you can't fire at him.
Yeah.
It was so annoying.
That's what that's all about. Sometimes that went horribly
Well,
wrong.
my arch rival was Tim Sakari.
Oh,
he
yeah.
was my arch rival.
Yeah.
He was the hardest guy I always had to fight against.
Cool.
The Silver Fox.
Silver Fox. There you go. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, he was so good at it. So we play that. We also play Armada.
Yeah.
All those dials, I mean, I haven't played for a minute, but if I remember, all those dials that you stack are like, I don't think they're all movement. I think they're all what systems you're going to activate.
Right. Different commands.
Like regen shield, or the commands like that. The movements I still think are every round. I mean, they have a new set of rules. I haven't broken it out and played it yet because I've been too busy doing the X-Wing and stuff like that. But that's another fun game. I got a ton of that stuff too.
Yep.
Keep going. What other Star Wars games should you share with the folks at home?
Oh, okay. Legion, played a lot of that. And then as someone called me a completionist, which the first time I ever heard that was Michael at Armada, and he was totally right.
All right, Star Wars Legion is currently at 1,090 on the top games. I have played maybe a handful of games. I currently own 2 box sets plus everything Wave 1, and that's about as much as I've owned. And I think I've played against Max, was probably the most that I've played against.
We played a couple times, but yeah.
Star Wars Legion is the miniature infantry combat game where you're playing different squads of infantry led by leaders who run around on the tabletop. I think about like Warhammer 40K, but Star Wars.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it was, right? Yeah, I think when Fantasy of Flight started coming out with that, they were doing games with WizKids because it was like that space game I like, the Warhammer 40K one.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And then when Legion came out, all of a sudden they split. They stopped doing business together.
And I think the innovative mechanic for Star Wars Legion was and I won't call it innovative because it's found in bolt action. It's a World War II game. In this game, you're going to have chits, like poker chips almost, that you put into a bag, and you're going to draw them out, and that's going to indicate
order
which squad type that you're allowed to activate that round. So based on what you build, each squad type, you're going to put a chip to represent them in the bag. So you're going to activate all your models in one round. You just don't know what order you're going to activate your models
Important.
in. Yes.
Right, and you have you pick a strategy card at the beginning of each round too, which can also augment your chip pull or which units get to go or bonuses to them.
Yep.
Oh, and the game setup for this one to me was also innovative because it became a game before the game. So before the game, we lay out cards that we shuffle out and draw and play out that dictate how we set up, and then also what the objectives are. Right, so we're bidding to be able to decide what setup we have and what objectives we have. So you kind of know what force you're bringing.
And conditions too.
Yep, and then weather or environmental conditions. So you know what you brought to the battlefield, and then you try to start developing the environment around the battlefield to match your needs, but you're playing against your opponent. It's almost a drafting game that happens before the game to dictate, how you set up, what the objectives are, and what the general conditions of the field are. That was innovative too, Zeno. Good call.
Yeah, well, what they did with Legion, with all those objectives, they've kind of translated over to X-Wing now with objectives. So, like when we just did a tournament, you basically, it was a 3-round tournament. Then there's 5 different objectives. We don't know which ones are going to play, so it's kind of hard to build against it. You know what I'm saying? It's not a dogfight game as much as it used to be.
More objectives based. I really like the dogfight.
See, I like the dogfight. I don't think I'd like the objective
I do
idea.
too, but it also, I mean, I'm kind of on the fence. I like it. And I still love the other one too. But, but now you're kind of looking at your build like, okay, yeah, it'll straight murder, but we'll pick up cargo. We'll do this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it does add some diversity to it. As much as, and I stopped playing the game for 2 years? I can't tell you how much I missed it. As soon as I just put it back on the table, pulled it out of mothballs, Still love trying to do the dials, still trying to predict, still trying to do everything. I missed it. So I said, forget, we're just going to get back into it again.
I'm with Zeno on that, Rob. Like, that aspect of the dials, I have not found a game that,
like that.
replicates that.
Yeah, I like that part.
So in Star Wars X-Wing, before the round begins, each player places a dial for each ship that will dictate what maneuver that ship will take.
Straight,
So
left bank, left turn. Yeah.
It very much becomes a game of outthinking your opponent. Like, I think he's going to go left, so I'm going to make this maneuver so that I can get out of his arc of fire and keep him in my arc of fire.
And depending on the maneuverability of the ship, certain ships can't do like hard lefts, or they can only do hard lefts at super slow speed. Some more maneuverable ships, you can do a 3-speed, which is a longer turn as a hard left instead of a bank. So yeah, it was a lot of little cool little mechanics in there. Yeah,
But it felt so good. Like, I have not been able to replicate it in any game. When
Thinking
you
your opponent.
outthink your opponent.
Yeah.
When you reveal a maneuver that puts them in such a bad spot and you see that look in their face, like, oh
crap.
man,
I'm gonna get lit
I think
up this turn.
there are games that have that a very similar mechanic that came out before the Star Wars miniatures game X-Wing came out, though. Because I mean, Crimson Skies, the WizKids
yes,
miniatures game,
I had Crimson Skies.
Yeah.
they were doing that 10 years earlier, where you played an action card that then gave your what direction, and you laid out the little tiles to
Ares Games came out with Wings of War,
Wings of War,
which is what
yeah.
Star Wars X-Wing was developed off of.
Yeah.
But I mean, you take all those games and then you add Luke Skywalker.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
in.
Boba
You're
Fett.
right.
Well, it's got two pieces of it that I find insane, that I love about. One, you can't measure range. All the other games I've seen recently on miniature games, you can always pre-measure. You can't do this in this game. You got to learn your measurements. And then number two, as you know, it's a game of lawyers and a game of millimeters. You got to bust out the laser to see if you got a little nub or a corner if you can actually shoot somebody.
I still remember
I've
when
never
you
played a
flew me
game
off the
that-
map with an ion bomb
Yeah.
by like
Look, I
one
was trying to be
nub.
nice. No, that's not what I did to you. I got worse. I hit you with a Connor net when you had that big ghost ship and we were in dark side. I'll never forget. I've never seen you that pissed off before, ever.
Just
In
drift.
all the years I've known you, I've never seen you that
So
mad.
if I remember, that makes you just drift one turn. You can't actually set a dial. You just drift in the same
Well,
direction
yeah,
you're going.
and because of the ship he had, it was the big unmaneuverable. This was in 1.0. Once he was headed towards the end of the board, he wasn't getting out, and he knew it.
I tell you what,
So he was.
I never, to this day, I've yet to win a store championship because of Brian
My
Zeno.
bad. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, that was me.
Any tournament I went to where I did well, Brian Zeno was not there. But if Brian Zeno was there, I was second place. I was always freaking bridesmaid
Oh, yeah.
because of Brian
He tried to pay
effing
me
Zeno.
one time not to play, and I was like, no. We won't talk about that one either. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever been
I
so
thought-
shook in a game.
Yeah.
Where was that? Was that Sarasota or was that
Yeah, no,
Cape
that
Coral?
one. That one. Which
oh my
one?
God. The one you ion me off the net. You Connor netted me off the
That.
board. And it
I
was
want to know Sarasota.
Wayne.
Yeah.
It was the last match for the win, right? Wayne,
Yeah, it
the
was.
championship, right? Listen to this. If I won that game, I would have had a bye in the championship, the regional championships. Zeno had already won 3 store
Oh,
championships
I remember that.
season.
He didn't even need
He
to
already
win.
had 3 effing buys that season. He didn't need to be there for another bye.
I was having fun.
I was
think,
undefeated until I met Zeno
Nothing.
at
Carlos,
the last
talking.
table.
Carlos
Oh
needs
my
to show us
God.
on the
Actually.
X-wing where Brian hurt him.
Yeah, yeah. Point here where he touched you.
Yeah. Well, I will. Yes, absolutely. Let me tell you what, though. I will say this. I got a lot of good friends from playing X-Wing. I did more traveling than ever because I've been to cons and stuff before, but not like this. Like when we all got into a van and we drove all the way to the other coast, we got our butts kicked. Remember with Ryan and Max and all that
Yes.
stuff. But the amount of laughter and stuff we had, I still have those pictures.
I
I've
was
never.
Get Your Fun On in Melbourne, Florida. Man, that was a fun
Yeah,
trip.
but that was the first tournament that we thought that we were this and that, and we had the shit beat out of us. Sorry, guys, but that's what happened.
We thought we were cool.
We were
like
so
the
we hit
best
other
guys
coach
in Tampa. We're like, yeah, we're gonna go over there and show them, and like tail tucked
we
between our legs,
yeah.
driving back to Tampa.
Yeah. But we learned a lot. We learned a lot, and that we got better. But that trip was like, okay. But the best part was on the way home, just getting delirious from being up for like 18 hours. Just start laughing at random things, and just people start losing their minds, telling stories and stuff like that. That was the best part. Because when we got there, we were by your old house. So we ended up going to Taco Bell like at 2, 3 in the morning or whatever, just sitting in the parking lot and stuff.
That's every game night. Yeah.
Oh, Star Wars has a place. Star Wars gaming has a place in my life.
Yeah,
a very special place in my life.
Yeah.
So, thank you so much for bringing up all these great memories. Hopefully the folks at
no
home
problem.
got to hear some passion
Oh,
from you and I about what Star Wars gaming has
that's
provided
history,
us.
Sir, history.
There
no doubt.
definitely is. Thank you for your call, Poppy. I appreciate you.
Have a good night, Brian.
Oh, yeah. I'll see y'all later. All right, bye.
I feel that passion because, I was 2002, 3, whatever it was, till like 8, 9, HeroClix and Mech Warrior, Crimson Skies. I was doing all the tournaments. That's probably why I didn't get into the Star Wars miniatures as much, because I was so burnt out on collectible miniatures games between HeroClix, Mech Warrior, and stuff. And I still got closet full of those things, hundreds.
God, Robert and I would take ships to work.
Oh,
and
yeah. Mess
after
around.
work, we go to the cafeteria and throw out a Star Wars mat, and we'd be down there just moving X-Wings around.
Trying out different formations.
Getting ready for the next tournament.
I remember you would fly, what was it, the 4 Y-Wings?
4 Y-Wings was my favorite
And
list.
we were trying to figure out the way to keep them in formation, so we'd play just a couple rounds and be like, hold on, no, I screwed something. Let's start over again. We just pull them back, start over again. All right, and then you had a ruler, you're measuring already. If I set it 3 fingers apart and 3 fingers apart and 3 fingers
I
apart,
called it my Skittle Squadron.
and I make my left bank for my first move. Yeah, I remember all that.
And then you flew the Phantom.
Yeah, I
So
did
you
that for
were
a
like
while.
cloaking and moving all over the place. Oh, man, it's such great memories Star Wars gave us.
4 Y-Wings was my best. I finished second at the Armada
That's right. You took the Y-Wings one year.
4 Ys, yeah.
I took a different list. I sent you with the
I think
Y-Wings.
you flew the pancakes or something that
Yes,
year.
I flew pancakes.
Yeah.
Double Y-Wings. Or double
double,
Millennium Falcons.
YT, yeah.
My T-1300s or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, mhm.
Oh, man. Damn, Robert.
Yeah, that's
Why don't we play more of that?
I would like to, but it disappoints me now that they're moving to more of an objective-based game, because the dogfighting is what I loved. Out thinking, out guessing, chasing somebody down. Yeah,
Out surviving them.
I've been thinking about like getting it's off topic, but the combating is what I wanted. Like I've been thinking about busting out the Crimson Skies squadrons and see if my kid.
that'd be fun.
My kid could probably
That was a
handle
great
that level.
video game, too.
Yeah. But I feel like that's a good entry level game to teach you sort of some of that thinking.
What was
builds
that
up to
that Disney
Star Wars
show that
games.
got us into that? It was a Tailspin.
Tailspin,
Oh.
yeah.
Remember Tailspin? That's like Disney's version of that was when we were kids before
Don
Crimson Skies was
Cornage.
anything. Great stuff.
The villain,
All
the villain
let's
from that
let's
was
see.
Don
We're-
Cornage.
Phone line open again, folks. 813-618-7099. Give us a call.
Save us
We
from
made it to
ourselves.
Outer Rim. We made it to the Star Wars the card game at 8:37.
Armada.
Destiny. Star Wars Destiny. That was a good one. Robert, you didn't play that one.
What was Destiny's? That was
Destiny's was the card combat game using
the
dice.
dice. So I played some of that.
You remember
Yeah,
that?
I remember that, yep.
Beans and Dice Podcast. State your name. Where are you calling from?
This is Ron Frazier from Atlanta.
Rob Frazier, how are you,
Mr.
sir?
Frazier, we're talking Star Wars. What do you got to add to the conversation?
I haven't heard your conversation because I just got out of an appointment.
Oh,
So, it is what it is.
Yep.
But I know that you guys were talking Star Wars as a general topic. Of course, you know that Star Wars is it's part of the holy trinity of fandoms for me. It's Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, and Marvel.
Yep.
So I've watched the original movie, the one that was called Star Wars before they renamed it. I have my Star Wars gear on. So I was just actually messing around with Rebellion the other night, trying to reorganize some stuff because I got the expansion. I had the expansion in shrink wrap, and I was like, it's about time for me to get this to the table again, play it with the expansion, see how it goes. Because I really loved it. It was for a long time, it was my second favorite game, second to War of the Ring. And it dropped a couple of spots, but I'm really itching to get that game played again. So if you folks are into 2-player games and that will take 3 or 4 hours, and you're at least a mild Star Wars fan, a casual Star Wars fan, that game is highly recommended. It is, it's the Star Wars original trilogy in a box.
Yep.
And I think there's lots of great decisions to be made. I'm pretty sure you have it, Carlos, right?
I own it. Carlos does not. So I own a copy of it. So he did not. This is one I own that he didn't get. But anyway, yeah, I own it. We talked about it right off the bat. We're actually been going down the BGG rankings of all the Star Wars games, and so that one was right there at the top. It's number 9 all time right now on the BGG rankings. So we did talk about Star Wars in a box. I think the expansion even adds some stuff from outside those original 3 movies. But yeah, we talked about how the expansion fixes the combat. That was Carlos's biggest knock on the game. He only played it once with me, and we stumbled through the rules the first time we played. And it made
combat just didn't make sense for me. It just didn't grok.
Yeah, combat was definitely not good. And I've actually I bought the expansion to fix the combat, and I've actually never played it. I've played, I think, the base game 3 times, once or twice even since I've owned the expansion, and I've never put in that expansion and played it that way. But from everything I've heard, the expansion completely fixes the combat issue. And so if that's your knock on it, that issue is fixed. So
I can't wait to play with the expansion then.
Yep.
I guess I don't have much to add to this discussion.
Okay.
Of course,
what about Star Wars RPGs? Like I have some Star Wars RPGs I want to talk about. You gotta have some in your history.
Well, here's the deal with Star Wars RPGs. I only really played like the D20 versions, that Wizards of the Coast put out back in the 2000s. I never played any of the D6, and then like the Fantasy Flight game with the special dice. I haven't played that. So I've only played,
Yep, Connor Smith is in the chat. Edge of the Empire. That's the Fantasy Flight version that I played. That's the set that I have behind me.
And you have the Star Wars RPG, and then Star Wars, was it the Saga edition? Then the
Edge of the Empire came in different flavors. You had kind of like the Scum and Villainy Empire set, but then you had like the Jedi specific set. The set that I have is less Jedi focused, less Force focused, more focused on like the Outer Rim.
Right. So the Fantasy Flight game, which is the current one that's in print, they have Edge of the Empire, which focuses on scoundrel types. You have Age of Rebellion, which focuses on covert missions, rebellion versus the Empire. And you have Force and Destiny, which is all about the Jedi, Sith, and Force use and all that kind of stuff. And they're complete games in and of themselves, but you can also mix and match and play a campaign that way. They all use the same dice system, narrative dice system.
I think they called it was it Destiny Dice? Is that the name of it? Destiny Dice?
I'm not sure what they call it in the game, but that sounds right. Like so one of the neat things about that game is there's a push and pull with the Force. There's like players have light side points and the GM can use dark side points, and so. But if the players use a light side point, basically you flip a coin. Basically, it's a flip of a coin, and the GM gets a dark side point to use, and that's really interesting. But I never actually played it.
I think one of my favorite parts about that dice system was the idea that you're not only rolling for success or failure of the action, you're also looking at symbols for boons and banes. I think that's what they called them at the time.
Yeah,
it's been like 15 years. Help me out here. Boons and banes. It's been like 15 years since I opened this rule book.
Probably, yeah.
And I still remember this. That's how good the dice system was. That even though you might succeed...
Wayne's got other opinions.
We'll save that for the May RPG chat. If you succeed or fail at the check, you may also get a boon or a bane based on what other dice symbols were rolled in that roll. So although I might shoot Rob in the gut and succeed at that, if I rolled like a Bane symbol, something bad also happened. And the rules require
you.
that the player narratively describe what occurred as a Bane to that. So I might hit Rob in the gut, but maybe I jammed my blaster pistol. Right? So now I got to figure out how to fix my blaster pistol.
I get the feeling that Wayne and I are going to land on the same side. But it's a neat system in theory. I would say that. Like I read about it. I like it. I'm like, man, that sounds awesome.
Well, you're telling me it's a little broken. So this is one of the few RPGs Carlos forced me to play, and I didn't love it. So maybe it was partly because it's broken.
It's not that it's broken. I'm not a fan of the dice.
Okay.
You know,
I tell you what, Wayne is right. Wayne is okay. Listen, it's been a good night. I had a birthday party earlier. We had libations over there.
It's feeling good.
My father-in-law sent me home with some winking owl, so we're enjoying that. So I might be a little talkative tonight. I'll tell you what, it did also feel like you're like a voodoo doctor interpreting chicken bones, because you would chuck like a handful of dice. And then you're like, okay, what does that symbol mean? And then this symbol, and then that. Okay, so I got 2 boons and a bane and 4 successes and a minus. All right, what does that mean? And then you have to interpret all that out. And that was a pain in the butt.
Yeah, that's it.
You nailed it.
I think
I'm not bringing.
Go ahead, Ron.
I'm not bringing a new player in. I'm not bringing a new player in playing that system.
Yep.
Like.
All right. Well, that was me.
The dice with the boons and the banes and those kind of things. One, it's a little hard to explain it to newbies or new players how that works. But then my issue was also it kind of forced the role playing part in a way that took away from the narrative of the story, because you want to be able to have things flow better. And if most players, they're in their character, and then if you're trying to then also tell them to now describe why your weapon stopped working, that takes them out of their character and out of their narrative. That's really the role of the GM, right? So like if you roll a critical 1 in a combat, the GM is going to say, hey, you fired, the bullet bounced off, and you get, so it kind of like took some typically GM based duties and put them on players. And you kind of didn't know who was doing what when, and it ended up being a little bit more disjointed than I liked. In as far as the flow of a scene,
I think Ron would agree. Disjointed is probably the right word for that system.
Yeah. Can I wanted to put a question out there for you guys to kind of get back on the board game topic. What Star Wars board game do you think is missing right now? Like, what kind of game?
I want a political one.
What kind of
Euro?
I'll tell you what. That recent series. Oh God, help me out with the name here.
Andor.
Oh my God, Andor hit so hard in my house.
That was a good one.
It was like 4 or 5 episodes in before it mattered. Like first 3 or 4 episodes,
slow.
I didn't care.
Yeah.
Nobody cared. But then when the politics hit, and you're watching, Dodonna do her, I don't know. It's just like
We never finished it. Yeah.
Oh, you didn't?
We watched like the first 2 or 3 episodes, and
right.
Yeah.
That's how I felt. I went back and had to rewatch the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I think Wayne is right. A political based, like
diplomacy,
like a Song of Ice and Fire, Game of Thrones FFG style game, where it's more about getting allies to work, diplomacy style, where you're getting other players to work with you, I think would be a good one.
You can have a game where you have senators that are trying to work together secretly to bring the rebellion together, but then you can have other senators that are imperial loyalists, that are trying to infiltrate that. And
The Galactic
There's
Council.
a lot of potential.
Yeah, I think you have that what's that? The King's Dilemma game that came out recently.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That sort of mechanism are set in a Star Wars
Yeah.
type universe.
That
I
would be
think
interesting.
that would be
Retheming
pretty-
that. Yeah.
a kind of a retheme of that would be good.
Nick Oben says that Ron's question is what he was going to call about. Still call in. Still call in. This topic is not done.
But I also like James Odak had an interesting one. That Galactic Battlegrounds, that like the RTS, where you're and that would be more like a feast, not a feast. Oh my God, Feast Road. No, the other Eric Lang. Oh my
Blood
God.
Rage?
Blood Rage, right? Think
Yes.
about a Blood Rage type game in a Star Wars universe too. Like,
but
or
why
like,
why can't we have like Twilight Imperium, like a
that would work
TI4
too.
Star
Yeah.
Wars?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
a full on.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're cheating though. I mean, come on. Let's think of something unique. What's something really that hasn't been done? I mean, you're retheming a lot of games.
Well, but I
Come
think
on.
you have a ton of miniatures games, right? So you got to think about what other style of. To me,
Yeah,
it's
that's what
not
I'm trying
even
to
so
think.
much about. To me, it's
Yeah.
not like what kind of game. It's what style of game is missing that a Star Wars game would fit into, and so that's why I think
How about some kind of hidden movement bounty hunter?
like a Fury
called
of Dracula.
Yeah, exactly. Fury of Dracula retheme. Yeah. All right, I'm cheating now too. All right.
Cheating not to. It's hard not to, though, right? But I think it's hard though, because I'll say this: just a Euro-based game, a worker placement type game, somehow themed around Star Wars, like they did with Waterdeep for D&D, right? Which if you could do something like that, would be kind of cool. Or
Yeah, a Euro game where you're focused on like getting sand out of your man part so you can be a man
Or
and go take care of your family.
How about a pod racing game that's not horrible? I'm sure there's
That
been a
would
pod
be
racing.
fun. That
would
I'm
be
sure there's
interesting.
been a pod racing game before, but I'm sure it was horrible.
Yeah, I'm sure it was
But,
a
like,
kids
let's get-
game or something.
Yeah, something, but that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Good call.
Good stuff, guys. I'm gonna hang up and let Nick call.
Thank you, Mr. Fraser.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Ron.
Have a good weekend.
All right,
Yeah.
take care.
Good night.
Yeah, Nick's itching. He's blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, he's starting to type in messages now. He's got some thoughts going. Yeah.
Let's see here. All mechanics have been used, and with an IP as strong as Star Wars, is always gonna be a reskin of something else. But that's what people want.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Beans and Dice Podcast. State your name. Where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Connor Smith from Liberia.
Hey, Connor.
Hola, Connor. We're talking Star Wars. What do you got for us?
Oh, man. So I was just listening to Ron talk about Edge of the Empire, and it was the jumpstart for me into TTRPGs just in general. I actually played that game with Mitchell at the time, who I did never foresee playing TTRPGs whatsoever, but we played it, and I heard y'all talking about dice, and it was like throwing chicken bones and trying to decipher them like witches and stuff.
Right out of Louisiana.
Yeah. Suddenly his
Exactly.
voodoo self is like, I know about that.
So I kind of wanted to like give my take on that conversation.
Yeah.
So as someone that plays 5e pretty religiously now, I noticed that players, especially newer players to the game, don't I don't want to say they don't want to, but they have a hard time like describing their attacks. And even I, still as a DM years later, I'm still trying to like find ways to just naturally describe what happens. So having those chicken bone dice that say, hey, something definitely bad happens, like you said, get shot in the gut or the blaster gets jammed. Like in D&D, it's like, cool, I rolled and got a 20 to hit a monster. Great, you hit them, roll damage. It's hard to narrate, oh, you do all this amazing, cool stuff, because it's just numbers. But when you have symbols, I feel like it's a little bit easier to kind of push narrative.
Okay, so there's a plus for Edge of the Empire.
Yeah, that's what they were trying to do, is really make the player think about how did this dice result sound in narrative, if I had to narrate it out. But Wayne's right. You bring in a new player, and Connor talked about it too a little bit there. Like a new player, they would just like give you deer in the headlight looks. Like,
Yeah, I'm already trying to figure out just how to play this game.
I succeeded, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm good. Like
Yeah.
I stabbed him, right?
Yeah.
Like you want me to know how well I stabbed him?
How did you stab
No,
him?
no, like this.
Yeah.
Sticky.
Yeah, I
You
stuck
see-
it in him and I pulled it back out.
I used the pointy end.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and so I remember for that game specifically, my character that I ended up coming up with was a intelligent Ewok.
Did you say Ewok?
So-
Ewoks aren't intelligent?
Ewok, the little itty bitty like bear, like teddy bear.
No, I'm
looking.
just saying, like you said, an intelligent Ewok. That just assumes that the majority Ewoks are not intelligent. I beg to
Well,
differ.
I mean, so it's-
Cannibal bears that
Well,
messed up
me
the
too.
empire.
I don't know that they were particularly not intelligent.
Like, how many rebels did you see take in Hoth
Yeah.
take down, or I'm sorry, in Endor, take down an ATST?
Yeah.
Ewoks were doing it like it was nothing.
Yeah, it was their business.
Listen, sir, we don't take that kind of a stereotyping on this show.
they're combat savvy, they're crafty, but they're not like great with technology. And that was what my character I ended up writing up was good at. Was that he eventually like found a like TIE fighter that crash landed on his planet, like found a way to rewire it, and then hauled ass out of there. And so that really helped a lot with the dice system too, because then whenever I'd roll those banes, it'd be like, oh, you accidentally like brought back some of your primal instinct. And so you kind of just like had a ooga booga moment and couldn't really figure out what was going on. But then, the boons also just kind of gave me that like spark of genius. And over time with the way that our GM played, it was that I got enough boost to the point that I actually became force sensitive because I was now using my technology to figure out how to access the force. And so right as we stopped playing, I had finally unlocked that force sensitive tree. And I'm upset now because I was really excited to try and get to be a force sensitive Ewok, which I don't think has ever been seen in the Star Wars canon to date. I don't think
so.
Yeah,
but I figured I'd chime in on that. I know it's not Star Wars related, but really quick, I wanted to give you the update, like very quickly. I got in the mail my physical copy of Pocketbook Adventures. So next week,
Oh, cool.
after I played some.
That's that little dungeon
I'll
crawl.
So it's the little point and right.
Yep. You haven't played it yet, you said, or you have?
No, I have not.
Okay.
I got it. It's just like they said. It's literally the size of an iPhone. It's small.
Cool.
Nice.
That was the one I think we were all excited about. That was the one we kind of all agreed on. So you definitely got to report back once you get a chance to get into it. Let us know how it is.
Post some pictures up in the Discord.
Yeah.
And then when you call in the next time to talk about it, I can pull up the pictures and share them.
That'd be cool.
Because if I remember correctly, there were not a lot of pictures on BGG at the time.
No, we had like 4 or 5. Yeah. Oh.
We can show BGG up.
All right.
Nice.
Well, thank you for calling in on the May the 4th. Have a great weekend.
Yeah,
we appreciate you.
4th be with you.
Coming in to help save Star Wars Edge of the Empire.
Yeah, first person with a positive take on it other than Carlos. So, yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, he liked
absolutely.
it. Yeah.
So me and Connor versus Rob, Wayne, and Ron.
I don't have much to go off of,
3 to
but yeah,
1.
sure. Put me on that side. Yeah.
You didn't like it at all.
Yeah, I really didn't like it, but I don't like any RPGs, so that's all right. But
2 to 3 right now. We'll see if another caller comes in and evens it up for me.
no, there's
All right. You guys have a good one.
you too. Thanks
Good
for
night,
calling,
Connor.
definitely more pictures of Pocketbook Adventures on BGG now.
Are there more now? Yeah, I guess
yeah.
if it's delivering, people are probably getting it and playing it.
Yeah,
So
cool.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Phone lines open again, folks. 813-618-70. Oh, well, I lied.
The phone lines are not open anymore because we have a caller. Beans and Dice Podcast. State your name. Where are you calling from?
This is William from Port Ritchie, Nerdy Weds.
Oh,
William, how are
Nerdy
you?
Weds.
How's it going?
This is the one I said. Okay. Hey, how you doing?
We are well. We're deep in libations, enjoying conversations about Star Wars. So it's a good day.
Yeah, I see that. Kind of jealous of the bottle of wine you're drinking right now.
Oh.
Listen, if you look closely, it's an Aldi's bottle.
Oh.
But you know what? It works
It's all
just
the
as
same.
good as all the other
All
ones.
lubricates the same. Yeah.
No, I just listening to the conversation about the role-playing games and other games for Star Wars. And yeah, I got started with the West End game system back in the late 90s, or mid-90s, rather.
D6 system.
We had D6.
I never had the
Hey.
opportunity to play that one. What's the main mechanisms for that D6 system compared to like the Wizards of the Coast D20 system?
It's a lot less to keep track of because you're dealing with one type of die, and it's
Wait,
pretty
the whole game
basic.
is based off of one die? Just a
Just
a
D6.
6-sided die?
D6.
Mhm.
It's or a handful of 6-sided die, depending on what you're doing.
So your stats were more of a dice pool, and if you were better at that stat, you got more dice to roll. Is that what that sounds like?
You know, I've been sitting here while you guys have been on the phone with Ron, trying to figure. I've got the game in my lap right now, looking through the rule book to figure it out. But back in the day, rules weren't as explicit.
Yeah, it's probably been 15 years since I read that rule book, at least.
It's been almost that long. My wife actually bought me this copy, which is a anniversary edition. Doesn't say which anniversary it is, but I know it's been a long time since this book.
That confirms you married up.
Oh yeah, definitely married up. But I've also got the D20 rule book here, and the one you guys have already been talking about, Edge of Empire. So those are the 3 Star Wars role-playing games I have right here in front of me right now.
Nice.
Let me direct this conversation just a little bit. I know you called in. It's your show. I'll give it back to you in a second.
It's my show, Carlos. And by the way,
back off.
You shouldn't get so offended. You're not short enough to be confused for an Ewok, so don't get offended when somebody insults Ewoks.
But he's all squishy like one. A little hairy like one, but yeah.
That's very true. I have struggled with RPGing in the Star Wars world for the same reasons that I struggled RPGing, roleplay gaming, in the superhero world, because characters such as Jedis or superheroes are so powerful, compared to the regular humans that it's hard for me to fathom, to think, to come up with stories as a game master that would challenge my players. Like, if you can leap buildings and fight stuff with laser swords, like, what challenge am I going to give you? William, what experiences have you had that either challenged you as a GM or that you've overcome as a GM when playing games in such a powerful environment like Jedi's, for example?
Well, you have to be very careful to balance your players. Everybody wants to create Superman, but who would really want to be Superman in any environment?
Amen.
You end up with the Marvel problem they're having with Captain Marvel, and it's the same problem they have with Superman. You have to eliminate them from the plot in order to have a plot until at the end, where they can come in and defeat all the bad guys.
Right, you get that Deus Ex Machina, where I can give you a world-ending situation, but all it takes is one super powerful hero to come back and fix everything. Like,
Yeah, look at the Justice League movie. They had Superman out of the movie almost the entire time, and I'm not talking about the remix with the director's cut, because they fix a lot of these issues with the director's cut. But the original theatrical release, every single character in the story, Batman, The Flash, Wonder Woman, all of them, every single character had a problem that they were dealing with. Superman came in and literally solved every single one of their problems. If you watch it, just that scene, he comes in, he not only rescues somebody faster than the Flash, but he also carries a building faster than the Flash was pushing a truck.
I struggle with that with Star Wars, because if the players are playing Jedis, right, don't they have access to all these powers? Like, I'm Jedi sensitive. I can tell if you're lying. I can change the dice that result as it falls over, except for, I'm a Tridarian. You can make your Jedi mind tricks on me. Like that kind of, barring that kind of stuff.
Trandoshan?
Trandoshan?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Whatever the flying guy was.
It's a matter of using the game mechanics to make it to where there's a consequence to an action, and there's always a risk. Do I utilize this power and expose myself for being a Jedi in that instance, or do I have to find another creative way to use my ability? Trying to find a way to balance a character's power against the world, either by putting obstacles in their way that they can't just force away, or a situation where if they're caught doing it, such as the rebellion, any Jedi that were around during the Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader conflict would have had to have been extremely careful with not exposing themselves, because, it was illegal to do that.
The Empire will come down on you, find you, and kill you.
I think in superhero
Yeah, and no matter how Jedi you are, they throw enough troopers at you, you're dead.
yeah. I think in any superhero or Star Wars or Marvel or Lord of the Rings, I think the hardest thing for me as a GM or just playing the game isn't so much as balancing power, because you could, as a GM, you could always balance power out. You can always your Jedi characters, you can mess with them pretty easily. The hardest problem is even if you tell your players, hey, pretend like the movies didn't exist. You're playing in this universe, but the movies didn't exist. They're not going to do that, right? Because the IP is in their heads. So to me, the hardest thing running games in Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, those things, is how do you make the player characters' actions meaningful without changing the overall story of the universe that your players have in their head that they're expecting to happen, right? So you still have to have the Battle of Endor. You still have to have the Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader. And how do you get players to interact with that universe in a way that makes it meaningful and impactful, right? So it's always like leading up. It's getting harder though with all the stuff that Disney's been releasing that's filling in a lot of the gaps. Yeah. Like when I used to run Star Wars, it was between episodes 3 and 4. And it would, one of the big, they went and destroyed the clone factories and they went and did that. But now all the cartoons and movies are all explaining those things away. So it becomes even harder to create a niche for your player characters in the universe as it gets more fleshed out.
One of the most impactful games I ever played of Star Wars was a game where our characters, I wasn't the DM for this, I can't take credit for this story, but our characters actually, their actions tied up a substantial number of Imperial ships, and they became pivotal towards the end of our campaign. We found out that our actions actually prevented those ships from entering the Battle of Endor and stuff like that. Like, you have this huge galaxy of things that are happening at the same time that Luke Skywalker is fighting, Vader in the throne room on the Death Star. There's a huge galaxy of things that are happening that could be influential to that story, in a oblique way, and coming up with cool stories that allow your players to impact what happened in the movies is a cool way of rewarding them. And that was a really cool, fun experience for me as a player.
Well, thank you for sharing. I know we want to get together again this month in May.
Yes.
We got to pick that day.
Yeah. So hit me up on Facebook. I know you guys got me on Facebook. I got you guys on Facebook. So
have you joined our Discord? The Beans and Dice. For you folks at home, we have a Beans and Dice Discord. You can find us on Discord or go to Facebook, and we have our link on Discord. Reach out to us on YouTube.
Give me 5 minutes. I'll be on there.
Yep. Reach out to us on YouTube, folks at home. We'll send you the link to the Discord. But William, if you join us on Discord, I'll set up a chat for you, me, Wayne, and Rob. I'm sorry, not Rob. You, me,
Ron.
Wayne, and Ron. The Rob with the N. And we'll get together about picking that date this month to do our RPG chat to continue this awesome conversation. We thank you for your call.
Oh, yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
We asked for you folks at home to check them out. Nerdy Weds. That's NERDY as in Yankee Weds, WEDS, on YouTube, Instagram, and I think Twitter too, if I'm right. Nerdy Weds.
Yeah. And may the 4th be with you.
May the 4th be with you. I feel like I'm at church.
May the Schwartz be with you.
The Schwartz. That was William from Nerdy Weds. Great talk there about the difficulties in creating RPG games in that Star Wars canon. Because I think that's also part of the difficulty in creating board games in the Star Wars canon.
Yeah.
Like, what space is left in there
Yeah.
to add to it, right? You want to add to.
Unless you're playing those characters, basically. Yeah.
Right. Which is, to me, I think a bit OP. Like, I don't ever want to play Superman.
But even when you do, and when you try to change up the story, because I know, like Legion, you played as Darth Vader, Luke, and stuff, and they tried to tell different stories. But that kind of disconnected you a little bit because you wanted it to be what the movies were, what the stories were, and when they try to take it and like, no, that's not what Luke did, that's not what Vader would have done. I can't really make my own decisions. There's a certain path they would have gone down, and it kind of messes it up for you. So yeah, that's tough.
So just real quick in the chat, guys, from the YouTube channel, I posted the link to the Discord server, and I posted a link to the Nerdy Weds YouTube page. So make sure you guys go and like the Nerdy Weds, and then if you're not on the Discord yet, get in there and get on some games with us.
Beans and Dice Podcast. State your name. Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Chris from Austin. How you guys doing? May the fourth be with y'all.
Hey,
Chris from Austin.
Fourth be with you. Thanks for calling. We're talking mostly Star Wars tonight, but the show is yours. What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, so favorite Star Wars character, guys.
Oh, character.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Are you asking us or are you giving? You know what? Give us yours since you had the idea.
Give us a minute to think.
Okay, yeah, that'll give you some guys' ideas. So I really like the Obi-Wan Kenobi series on Disney Plus.
Yes.
What's Up with My Wife, and man, that was just a great show. And just diving deeper into the character of Obi-Wan Kenobi. So for me, it's just Obi-Wan. I just think he's a fascinating character. Just the way he's evolved over time, the way he grew, and seeing that evolution through the series. So Obi-Wan Kenobi for me.
Yeah, Alec Guinness was a great actor, and I mean, obviously they had different people play him throughout the time, but yeah. R.I.P., right? Rest his soul, Alec Guinness. I believe he's passed, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Long time back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while back, but all right, I'm still thinking. Carlos, you got one yet? Wayne?
Man, that's tough.
Yeah, I know there's so many to choose from.
There is. I mean, I've always been partial to Mandalorians, just even like Boba Fett and things like that. But then in the RPGs, I've played Mandalorians several times, so be kind of a lame to say the Mandalorian, but I would also I can't pronounce the name. Chirrut Imwe, the guy from Rogue One. I'm the force, the force with me.
I'm with the force and the force is with me.
Yeah, that guy.
Not the machine gunner, but the blind one.
The blind one.
Yes.
Love that dude. That his whole shtick and it was
his whole outlook on the force and all that kind of stuff.
He was definitely like.
Good choice.
Yeah. Oh, there's my kids.
Yeah.
Oh, we got kiddos saying goodnight.
Gosh,
it's how we game.
I don't know. There's so many characters.
There's so many. It's hard.
So many people to choose from. Carl,
I don't know. For me, like immediately watching the Rogue One movie with Cassian Andor really hooked me on, and maybe because he's as an actor he's Spanish right off the bat. So like, listen, I'm just going. Let me get the close in camera here.
There you go.
Listen, folks, for a long time, the only brown people in Star Wars were either Lando Calrissian,
Chewbacca,
or Chewbacca.
Yep.
Like, I'm just saying. Like, we didn't have a lot of representation in Star Wars for a long time. So when Cassian Andor came around and he was Latino, he was Spanish. Like he's in the Terminal. I don't know if you ever watched Terminal with Tom Hanks.
I've seen that one. No.
Tom Hanks. He got stuck in the airport. The terminal. Anyway, being Latino, like to me, it kind of just stuck. But then his character, to me, it's again back to the I don't want to play characters that are super powered, and Cassian Andor is not. He's not force sensitive. He's not like Han Solo, where apparently he has some force powers, like the ability to predict stuff. Cassian is just a dude, and he's surviving, thriving, and succeeding in this epic. So for me, Cassian Andor, I've been like that. That to me draws me in, like just gritty, through the skin of my teeth. I fight harder than you to survive because I don't have special powers. Cassian Andor.
Okay. I'm going to take it in a completely different direction, maybe just for the reason of taking it to the animated side. And I don't even remember the Bad Batch. So the clone trooper who leads the guy in the Bad Batch. What's his name? I don't even know off the top.
I watched like 2 episodes of it. I need to finish it.
No, that's good stuff. And they're in season 2 now, I think. But I mean, he's been in more than one. I want to say Red. It's not Red. It's
Rex.
Rex, maybe.
Well, Rex was the. Rex was.
He's been in more than just the Bad Batch. Yes.
He was in Rebels. He was in Clone Troopers.
Yeah. And his whole thing in the Bad Batch about trying to change people's opinion of the troopers and trying to get out of the stereotypical, maybe they can shoot, I don't know, that kind of stuff. But maybe they can hit something that they shoot at. What's that?
Hunter.
Hunter, is that it? Okay.
Yeah, that's the guy. Hunter, Record, Tech, Crosshair, and Echo.
Yeah, and him just trying to change. He's got this elite group of them that are individual. They were defects kind of in the group, and they each have their own special abilities and special powers. And he kind of took these misfits and put them together. And again, he's trying to change the way people look at the troopers and that kind of thing. I think he's a pretty motivational character, and I really enjoyed the series. So
Yeah, the series is awesome.
Yeah, I'm going to go that direction. And again, it's probably just a little bit of me just trying to be different and get it over to the animated side, because I've loved the animated stuff that they've done. The other thing I was going to say is maybe Ahsoka. My kids really like Ahsoka. And of course, Ahsoka and Bridger, the kid in the one series. Ezra. Yeah. So that my kids really like them, and so we watched a lot of that stuff.
Rebels.
Star Wars Rebels, and so I really like his character, and seeing him as a young person, dealing with the Force and dealing with the whole situation they were in from a young person's perspective. I really like that series too. So a couple of wild cards out there.
All of us chose good guys, right?
I thought about going bad for a minute. I was thinking, I was trying to run through my head like Darth Maul.
William said Darth Vader, right? So if we said what's your favorite villain?
Yeah,
let's throw it back.
Well, they were really the good guys, but I don't even want to go there. I mean, that's the whole thing. Yeah.
He wants to start a fight.
We were trying to keep order. We were trying to keep order, and those Jedi show up and start screwing stuff up. So we had things running a certain way, so things were good.
No.
Yeah, if the Empire had it their way, there'd be like no people of color in Star Wars. Okay?
Well, yeah.
And I mean blue and green and purple.
Those colors. Yeah.
They didn't like aliens. They were xenophobic. Like full xenophobic.
Jar Jar fan, apparently.
Jar Jar. Yeah.
Well, Rob, great question. Chris, any, I guess, Empire side, villain side, anti-hero that stands out for you?
Yeah, I mean, I like the Mandalorian. To me, they're kind of neutral.
Yeah,
and so I really enjoyed Mandalorian. I mean, every season's gotten better. Season 3 is better than 2. 2 is better than 1. I've just really enjoyed the whole Mandalorian lore and almost like a religion. It's almost like its own little religion.
Yeah,
they have their own customs, their traditions. So I've been really fascinated with Mandalorian. So that'd be my go-to just initially. Now, if I had to pick a villain straight up, Darth Maul obviously was pretty cool in the episode 1. And he didn't really talk. He was just like there. I mean, he just fought, and so it was just kind of an interesting character.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's just my go-to. I hadn't thought much about the villain side, I guess.
Man, when you were in the movie theater when that movie came out, and he comes out, and you see that the dual saber. There's no Star Wars there that wasn't like, oh my god.
Yeah, that blew everybody's mind, and then they did a few variations off of that after that, but that started it. Yeah, there's different than just the single saber. Yeah.
All right, so for me on the Empire side, the bad guy that stands out the most to me is going to be in the Mandalorian.
So yeah,
yes,
so you pulled up there
in
the
Mandalorian.
Yeah,
he's only known as the Client, right? And it's German actor Werner Herzog.
Herzog, yeah.
There you go.
Right. And it really isn't for his character that he played in the show, but it's for what he did for the show.
Okay.
Right. So Werner was in season 1. He played the role of the Client. The Client was there seeking the kid, right? Also known as Baby Yoda, also known as Grogu, right? That was his goal. And there's a story, there's a behind the scenes conversation about how Disney was filming things twice. Everything was filmed twice. Once with the puppet of Baby Yoda, and once with a green doll of Baby Yoda, because they couldn't decide if they wanted to go with a puppet, like they were like what we're used to, or to computer animate the character. And there's a story in there about how when they brought this up to Werner, like why he was doing both scenes twice, he called them, and I'm going to try to do it in German accent, cowards, for trying to do it with CGI. Yeah. Like he was like, you should do this with the Muppet, not effects. With the CGI. And like to me, that just it's still like I think of him, and again, find him in American Dad. He was an American Dad, and the episode of his voice, his German voice in American Dad, it was a I'm not even going to describe it. It's not even. It's 10 o'clock. I can't even describe what they talked about in that episode after dark.
No, but I think he had a point though. Star Wars at its best when it got back to practical effects more.
Yeah.
It's better than the
Instead
over
of CGI. Yeah.
He called them cowards for wanting to do the Mandalorian,
taking the easy way,
using the easy way out, using the computer, and said, use the puppet, figure it out, work hard. And that to me stuck. And I will tell you, I am not a fan of any villain in Star Wars. I can't say I like any of them, but that whole story really engendered me to this dude, Werner
Herzog.
Yeah, that guy.
But I can tell you when you pulled this up, and I just got to mention before you get rid of it here, Giancarlo Esposito. I thought is
oh my God, Moff Gideon is great.
He is so good in this. Yeah, he is. He's a guy that I'm already loving to hate in The Mandalorian. I mean, it's like, he's such a good bad guy.
He harkens back to Peter Cushing as Grand Moff Tarkin.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm a Peter Cushing guy. I loved him as an actor. So him as Grand Moff Tarkin in that character, and that character's been in it. What's interesting is even in the animated versions of Tarkin you've seen in recent Clone Wars and other stuff, they really hone in on that actor's sort of legacy, which I like. So that would probably be my favorite villain.
And before I forget, in the next couple of years, we're going to see a whole lot more on Thrawn, and that is going to be interesting.
I've read novels, Thrawn novels.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
We're getting ready to have a movie and a show.
One story on Giancarlo Esposito. He talks about...
What was that again?
Giancarlo Esposito.
That was close.
He talked about how his daughters would call him and beg him, please don't kill Baby Yoda.
Yep.
You're doing a good job as an actor when your own adult children call you and beg you not to kill the child.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah.
Great topic.
Good stuff.
Well, have you seen the new series that's coming out, Ahsoka?
Yep.
From Disney Plus? That looks pretty good too.
Yeah, watch the first
She's
season.
An intriguing character to me.
Season 2, I guess, getting ready to come out. But yep. Mm-hmm.
But we got to find a way to dig deeper into the PTSD she's going to have from her time with Anakin. Like, we really have to,
have you watched
that wound?
I mean, have you watched the Star Wars Rebels? Because they get into some of that.
Yeah, I've seen the whole Rebels.
Think about that. You're mentored by a person your whole childhood, adolescence, to come to find out he kills everyone you love.
Yeah.
That's got to stick with you. Oh, I can't wait to see that.
It's going to be good.
Dramatic. Yeah. It's going to be good. Okay, off topic from Star Wars. You want to answer one more question?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, you had a great question. The show's yours now.
Okay, great. So favorite, actually, let's say top 5 board game expansions. Top 5 board game expansions.
I'll go.
And if you can't think of 5.
No, mine's pretty quick.
Yeah.
Okay. Right off the bat.
5 quick? Or
quick.
Right
off the bat.
Really?
Lords of Waterdeep.
Yeah, I was going there.
Scoundrels of Skullport?
Scoundrels of Skullport. It brought such fresh air 20 years later to a game that we already, in my family, loved. Because I've owned it forever, but I didn't play it until this last year with my wife at Escape WinterCon. We got to finally get it to the table and played. It just so refreshed that game.
It's good.
There are many expansions that I enjoy and I add to games, and it's like, okay, that was fun. It added something. But the Skullport expansion, Scoundrels of Skullport for Lord of the Waterdeep, it's like the game is complete. It feels there now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that really adds to the game. It's almost like you would not want to play the game without it.
Well, the obvious top 5 are viticulture, and viticulture. right. The 5 different. We got to.
Well, no,
Tuscany,
certainly.
Tuscany.
So viticulture essential edition or viticulture Tuscany.
Tuscany, yeah.
Tuscany would be mine.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I don't know. Those extra seasons just bother me. I'm good with 2 seasons.
Carla, 2. You had 3, I think, wasn't it? 3.
He's lived in Florida too long. He's lived in Florida where we have 2 seasons.
We have hot summer. We have cold summer. Yeah. That's it. I like it. Simple.
Pretty much. Gosh, I got to think of some others. I'm sure there's some other great ones out there that we're missing. But how about you, Chris? What is 1 or 2 of your favorites?
Yeah, I'll give you my top 5.
Okay.
So Ante Up for Western Legends.
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
Hall of Heroes for Raiders of the North Sea. I consider that essential.
Haven't played enough of that. Yeah.
My first play and only play included the expansion, and I was like, "Whoa, this is too much. Take it out, please."
Champions of Midgard. I mean, you just rang a bell for me, so I'm going to jump in.
I was
Champions
gonna
of
say
Midgard, Valhalla. That is an absolute.
I was going to say it after we got off the phone. My man, right here. High five.
That's
There we go.
a good one.
All right, go ahead, Chris.
That's a real good one. Number 3, New Leaf for Everdell. It's the newest expansion.
Okay.
That one's really good. Expedition Leaders for Lost Ruins of Arnak.
That's gonna be a nerve for us. That's gonna be a nerve for us.
Like,
Just tell them to be quiet. They didn't play it right.
We got to play it again. All right, go ahead.
And then lastly, Age of Artisans for Architects of the West Kingdom. I like the base game, but I like how it opens it up a little more. More ways to score points.
I like Architects a lot. I have not played the expansion. Yeah, so I got to try it.
James Odak just hit my top 5 with one of his right there.
Oh, let's see.
Terraforming Mars Prelude.
Prelude.
Oh my God!
How can we
That's such
forget
a small
Oh,
box.
yeah. I hadn't thought about that.
That's
How
absolutely
many times have we said that this game needs a Prelude expansion?
Yeah. I don't even think of it without Prelude anymore.
No,
I mean, that's part of the game.
I don't
either.
separate Star Wars.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Except Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Terraforming Mars from Prelude. Like, to me, those are one. They do not go separately. I will never, ever, ever play Terraforming Mars without Prelude.
And like I said, though, is like that one is an expansion that we now use as a
verb. It's like a verb.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Like,
We
that
need to
game needs a
prelude this
prelude.
game.
Yeah, you need a prelude for that. Like, Ark Nova needs a prelude.
But it's the same way that I was going to bring it up, Chris. Rob brought it up before me, but Champions of Midgard, in that same way,
Huge, yeah.
Valhalla,
Yeah, I would never play
I
Champions of
wouldn't play
Midgard without
Champions of Midgard without it.
I don't think I'd ever play it without it again.
No.
Because you benefit from dying. Your guys getting killed off.
Right.
It becomes a Euro game.
When the original game, as you build up characters, then you go on a thing, you lose a bunch of them, and then you spend the next 2 or 3 rounds building them up again. In this one, you could get immediate bonuses for losing those characters, and so it doesn't feel nearly as bad. And sometimes you can get other characters by losing characters, and so it helps reload you anyway. So yeah, I mean that's a must. Yeah.
And the Nerdy
I thought of
Weds
one
agrees
more.
with me. Nerdy Wed says we have hurricane season and not hurricane, season
in Florida.
So that's why viticulture should be just 2 seasons.
Nice. But I think Terraforming Mars Prelude and Scoundrels of Skullports are probably the 2 expansions that those are the 2 best expansions in any game I've ever played.
Yeah.
Choices. Yeah, I thought of one more actually that actually would push my number 5 down to number 6. Wingspan Oceania.
Oh, yeah.
I just love that expansion. It has the wild, like the nectar resource. It's a wild resource. So if you get stuck and you just can't get the food you need, you just throw that nectar out there and you can get those birds played much faster. And I like how it changes the player boards. It makes like eggs a little less powerful, but it makes food more accessible. It just, to me, balances the whole game out. Like, to me, it's a complete game when you add that expansion.
I haven't played it yet. I bought it. I bought it like a year ago, and it's
on my
still-
shelf. It's in shrink.
I unwrapped it. I put it in the box, and I have never played it. I played a lot of Wingspan originally when it came out, and I wouldn't call it burnout because I still would play Wingspan pretty much any time, but it's just not at the top of my list now. As when I'm trying to play all these new games, it's kind of taking a back seat, which is unfortunate. But we need to play some more Wingspan. Yeah.
We got to try the.
I think
I've never
it'll
played the
refresh
nectars.
it for you. Yeah, I think you guys would like the game more, and it will refresh it. You want to play it more often.
Oh, good. That's good to
That's
hear.
how it was for me. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, the nectar does make it's a wild and it does desensitize the egg heavy strategy a little bit. It's good.
Cool.
That's it for me, guys. Thank y'all.
More great topics, Chris. We appreciate
Thanks,
you calling
Chris.
with these thought-provoking, putting us on the spot, but it makes for good conversation here. So don't be a stranger.
Anytime.
That was
Okay,
that was
love what you
definitely
guys
deep
do.
and
May the
appreciated.
Oh, yep.
Anytime. May the 4th be with you guys.
The 4th would be you.
Also with you. I feel like I'm at like mass, like Catholic mass.
Yeah.
We're going to church.
May the
It's
peace
scripted.
peace be with you. And then when the
Peace of
when the
God,
priest
which
says
surpasses
that,
all
all I
understanding.
think back is, and the force is with you.
I do too. Same here.
Have a good night, Chris. Thanks for
Good
calling.
night, Chris.
Thanks, guys.
Great conversation.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
I forget how quick those calls go. Like
Yeah,
we were 19
Yeah.
minutes with Chris on the phone.
Yeah.
Like that's how
Really?
fast that went.
Wow.
And I feel bad. Right. Wow. Because like I want to open up the phone lines for other, but if I'm having a fun conversation with a caller, I'm having my fun conversation.
Yeah.
We still need Nick Oben
Okay,
to
I'm
call
gonna
and
go
tell us
into
where
the
his
Zoom
Star
in.
Wars game's going to be.
I'm going to zoom it in here. Listen, folks, I love y'all, and I love the conversations we have, and I love opening the phone lines. But more than that, I love having that conversation at that moment with that person on the phone. And sometimes that means that I'll be on with them for like 20 minutes. Because if that conversation's going well, I don't want to hang it up.
Yeah.
I just don't want to hang it up. So, Chris, thanks for your call. That's 20 minutes you and I spent together chatting.
Until we get 100 viewers and people backing up the phone line, we have that ability.
We get to 100 viewers, we'll get multiple phone lines.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, well, we'll get multiple phone lines. We'll cut the calls shorter. So
that's how we'll do
tell
it.
your friends about it. Tell your friends about it. Yeah.
Chris says, thank you, guys. We appreciate you, man.
Yeah, thanks, Chris.
Wayne, updates on your top 20 board. I'm going to make a separate video just for this one. So this is all you. So let me do an intro here. Hey, folks, and now we're going to go to Wayne and talk about his top 20 games. He hasn't had a chance to update it. I know we posted a video separately recently where Rob, myself, and Nick Oben interrupted
interrupt your intro.
Yep. I get it.
Beans and Dice Podcast. State your name. Where are you calling from?
Hello and good evening, gentlemen. This is Nick from Wesley Chapel.
May the 4th be with you.
May the 4th be with, and also with you.
And also with you. There you go.
Speaking of 4th, this is my 4th time trying to call in.
Oh, that's good. That's a good thing.
No, it's really good. It's really good. All the conversations have been great, and I will be maybe short this week. First, quick call out. Had a nice, before we get into the Star Wars stuff, had a nice Wesley Chapel board game meetup there. Got some good games.
We sure did.
So as far as what's going on this
Y'all
week,
survived all the storms.
Tornado warning while we were there.
I was at an event,
Yeah.
and we had planned on leaving the event around 3:00 to head to the Wesley Chapel game day. But as we're at the event, our phones get all those crazy alerts, tornado warnings, you're going to die. And we're like, you know what? We'll stay home.
Yeah.
Rain was sideways for a while. Yeah.
I heard y'all gamed all day.
Really, you'd rather be home than gaming with us during a tornado. Yeah, all right, I hear you. I see you. How it goes? Yeah.
But the timing worked out well. It was raining like crazy while we were in there playing, and I'm sitting there being like, "Am I going to be able to walk these games back out to the car?" But then it did. It lightened up by the time we left. Yeah, we had a good stretch. It was really good.
Nice.
Did get Wonderland's War in, so I mean probably for another week. But I know Wayne now owes you his thoughts on Wonderland's War.
We got to touch on that. And just real quick, I'm happy that I kind of twisted Jim's arm to play because he was kind of really on the fence.
Mm-hmm.
I kept nudging him, and then I see in his in the Discord he posted now that Wonderland War has made his top 20 for the year. So and actually I think it was pretty high. It was up around 10 if I remember. So anyway, but keep going.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's really good. That was a nice play of it too. It was a lot of fun. Good group. I think Jim even made that comment. And it was myself, Sam, who's always a lot of fun to play with, Wayne and Jim. So great group to play with. Got in, what else? Trekking Through History, which was my first play of that.
Yep.
That was fun.
Mine too.
That was a great game. And then another long-standing on the backlog game for you to play, Rob, was Aeon's End.
Absolutely.
Which we got in. Which now I would say at 4. That was a little slow and a little tough. I'll just throw it out there. If you feel like that game was a little not as good as you thought it was going to be, I would agree. That being probably my 10th play of the game, it might have been my 10th enjoyable. Ranked 10 out of 10 on the list of plays of that game. Just at 4, I didn't see it coming. I'd never played it before. At 4, the whole thing is just real slow per player.
Okay.
Because for folks that don't know, the heartbeat of the game is each round has 6 turns, and the bad guy is a co-op game, co-op deck builder, and the bad guy is always going to get 2 turns per round. 2 of the 6 turns will be his or hers, the bad guy, the nemesis. So 4 turns are played by the players, and then those turns are divided equally depending on the player count. If there's 2 players, each gets 2. If there's 4, each gets 1. If there's 3, which apparently is a sweet spot, everyone gets 1, plus there's a wild. And when the wild comes up, the players decide in real time, based on the game situation, who should take that turn.
Wow, that feels powerful.
So
that was good.
Yeah, so 2 out of the 3 of you still only get 1 turn per round. But each round you can make the best decision about who should get that second turn.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
it just completely changes the dynamic.
I think what really happened there too is you had 3 of the 4 of us were first time players.
Yeah.
And we didn't do a very good job of talking amongst ourselves and strategizing. We kind of just built our own stuff. So most of us built similar decks as we were building decks. We didn't do enough of other things. It was a good game though. I could see where it's tough. It's tough, which is good. You want it to be tough. And I think the more you play it, the better you'll get at it. So it was really good.
Yeah, I liked it. I definitely look forward to another play of it. And yeah, let's try it at 3.
Okay, cool. And yeah, Rob, after the play, you look through some of the extra cards there, and you see some of the variability. We also played with the recommended 9 cards for the starter market, but there's a lot of other cards that add a lot more flavor and variability, so you can really stretch these decks.
Is this full co-op, like we win or die, ride or die together?
Yep.
Or is there like one winner more than others?
Full co-op.
Full co-op.
We either beat the bad guy or we don't.
Yep. You are a party of mages, and so instead of any other mechanic where you're trying to beat the bad guy, you have a deck that you're building. Very Star Realms-esque, where you're trying to build a deck that can heal yourself and help and do damage. Except it's co-op now, so the 4 of you were trying, and that's the part that we like the boys mentioned. We all just kind of looked at the cards and said, "Oh, well, that looks like a good card for me right now." And none of us was like, "Okay, I'm just going to focus on doing as much damage as possible. Y'all need to keep me alive, or y'all need to protect us, or whatever."
We talked about that afterwards. We probably should have had somebody, probably my character, been more of a support character. Somebody else should have chosen to go hard into the spells, into the damage dealing, and then the other 2 could have done something maybe in between. But we kind of all generalized and everything, and that didn't work out so good for us.
Yeah, especially because of the pace. If you know you're only going to get 1 turn per round, and just the way the game works, it's like you just, if you're going to be general like that, none of our decks got powerful enough fast enough because you only have that 1 turn per round.
Yep.
So, anyways, but I'm glad we got the game in for sure. And it's pretty easy to set up, teach, and play. So we can definitely get some more in there. I have a lot of the content. That 1 box I brought has sent several expansions that have now been added to it. But in addition to that, I have other boxes. There's a whole story arc to the Aeon's End game. There's like many boxes and expansions that all take you down the story and stuff. So cool.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
All right. Now, Ron's question, Ron Fraser, earlier in the night was the question that actually, as you guys were going through some of the Star Wars games, the top rated games, it was the question that came to my mind too, which is what is the Star Wars IP game that is missing, or game mechanic or game type? And that's what I meant in my comment there. And I feel like any game that we come up with, when you start talking about like, oh, well, what's a new Star Wars game? It's going to be a little bit of a reskin of some other game, right? Because there's only so many ways of shuffling up the mechanics that are available now. And Star Wars is such a powerfully connected IP. Like, people love it so much that there's actually nothing wrong in just taking a good game and reskinning it to Star Wars and then being like, that's what this is. This is the Star Wars version of whatever. I think someone even mentioned Love Letter earlier, like someone, reskinning Love Letter to Star Wars. Like, I bet it's fun, because you get to see those characters.
They've done it. It's okay. Yeah.
Or not. Yeah,
that's the Jabba's Palace. Or whatever it is.
Jabba's Palace. Yeah.
Got it. Played it. Put it back on the shelf.
What's crazy? What's crazy? What's crazy? And I'm going to fully lose Rob. I will say I'm going to fully lose Rob. If I was hosting the show right now and someone called in, they would lose me normally. But this is the thought I had: a Star Wars social deduction game.
Oh yeah,
that is what I'm thinking. Is
killing me.
Here, follow me. I know. Follow me here. So I don't know if you guys have checked out Blood on the Watchtower, Blood on the Clock Tower.
Yep, Clock Tower.
Blood on Watchtower. That's a game where there are up to 2 bad guys. I forget if there's always 2 bad guys, but I think there's normally 2 bad guys, like Master and Apprentice. If you see where I'm going with this.
Yep.
And that right there lends itself really nicely. You have your classic social deduction game where there's bad guys and there's good guys, and so two of you are Sith, and the rest of you are either like citizenry or Jedi, right? And you're just trying to find the Sith. But then it's funny because you guys were talking about political stuff. I could see this being a really nice thing between rounds where there's like the Galactic Senate meets and everyone has to vote on something. And the way that you vote, of course, is going to affect the game state for the rest of the game. And that will be one of the big trying to figure out based on who votes which way, if you're Sith, if you're a Jedi, if you're in between, or whatever the case might be. Well, there's this, idea of the Galactic Senate is out there and everyone gets a vote. And, the Sith can probably kill people, at night or whatever. Whatever the mechanic is there.
I can see it.
Werewolf, Resistance,
that's what I was thinking.
Secret Hitler, all of those melding into a Star Wars game.
Yes, I mean, it's I don't like those games. I'm not gonna lie. I had fun when we played Salem. We played Salem 1792. I think it was the game we played at your turn several game days ago.
Fun is a word you could choose. I have other words to start with F that I can think of.
1692. Yeah, I see.
You had fun in that play. You were one of the witches. Me, you, and Sam ended up walking away with that game.
Oh, my wife as well. We were all part of the witches there.
Yes, that's right. So I mean, I have definitely had fun playing them. They're not my normal cup of tea, but I just feel like the characters you could deal out there, right? Like if someone would get to be, Obi-Wan, or someone would get to be whatever, blah blah blah. I don't know. It'd be fun. I feel like it's an easy reskin. Like Lane, you just mentioned, there's a whole bunch of games out there to draw from, and just reskin it to be Star Wars. Throw that like voting element of the Galactic Senate in there, and you can lean into the whole. There's always two. There's always a master and an apprentice. If someone gets dealt, and they are the master Sith, someone is the apprentice Sith. And there's different powers, different roles depending on who you are.
It's kind of like Bang the Dice game. There's the deputy along with the sheriff. Like the deputy wins if the sheriff wins, but the deputy can also win on their own. So master and the apprentice. I like it.
And you got the stormtroopers who can't hit anything; they're just shooting at stuff. And I thought for a moment, Nick, you were going to take us down the 18XX path. So I was wondering how you were going to connect that, but you're buying up Star routes.
That's a bridge too far.
Trade Federation.
Yeah,
the bridge too far.
It just doesn't track. You know what I'm saying?
No, I was wondering how you were going to do that.
Track.
Yeah.
Now I'll say this though. So go ahead. Nick.
Just real quick, because now we're designing this game. Beans and Dice property. If the Sith Master gets killed, if either one gets killed, if the Sith Master or Apprentice gets killed, they can then. That's the mechanism where they can then convert someone else, because there's always two, right? And so, like, if you kill the Apprentice, the Master gets to like take a new citizen and make them their new apprentice. And if the Master gets killed, there's some kind of eye-closing mechanism where the apprentice becomes the Master, and then they recruit someone, right? And so it's kind of like, and they switch roles so they can actually gain different powers now that they're the Master. Just throwing it out there. That's how that mechanic would go, because there are always two.
You haven't been working on this for the last 6 years, have you? No,
sounds like you have.
I haven't. No, this is all just right now. But that's the thing, is because the lore is so deep and strong, it's easy to make these tie-ins, right? I mean, this line, there are always two there are, right? That's what Yoda says. It says it right there. It's in, so like, boom, make that in the game, right? Like Yoda told you, always two there are. So if one of them dies, hey, always two there are, like make another one, right? That's what you get when you take an IP like this and just reskin some other game, is you get to find all these really cool adaptations.
If the good guys kill one of them in a round, they immediately get a second turn to try to get the second one, because the only way they win is to get both in the same turn.
One round? Well, interesting.
Right. That's it. I like it.
Nice.
I like it. And apparently we have to check out Star Wars. I've got a bad feeling about this card game.
All right. Where's the Porkins game? I want to know.
Now, I'll say this is off Star Wars topic, but all four of us have now played Trekking Through History. and I think Carlos, you might be the most disappointed out of the four of us because
Carlos was looking forward to this conversation, so I have both sides. So I'm going to sit back and watch. But I don't know if Nick, if you're done with your call, but we may want to turn it over to these two guys for a minute.
Nick made a good comment, Nick. When you played Trekking Through History, you said it was a game that you're really that weight of a game is almost you're really into it now because it has just enough decision space, but it's 30 minutes. Did we lose Nick?
Yeah, I'm sorry. We're talking about trekking through history.
Yes.
Yeah, trekking. Yep.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that is. We did have a good chat about that, about how, especially coming off of Wonderland's War, which is what it was, right? I had just taught Wonderland's War, and then we spent several hours playing it, and that is fun. That's obviously a great experience. But having done the game a day last year, I got that solid appreciation for the bang for buck of a game that you can learn and play and have fun with in an hour. I just think that's actually a really nice spot. It ends up, if I was gonna, as I refine my collection now, I was about to say if I'm going to restart, but that's not realistic. But as I refine my collection now, I find myself less drawn to multi-hour games, less drawn to campaign games, and more drawn to games that I know I'm going to get on the table because I can teach them to the kids and play them in an hour. That's just the sweet spot for me right now.
I cannot find a game in my collection that would fill the space that Trekking Through History would. Trekking Through History is currently on my wish list for Amazon.
Oh, okay.
It is, and I get it, Wayne. We had our game day, but pre-show, but without Rob. Yeah, I played Trekking Through History, and as soon as we finished playing it, I'm like, all right, let's pack it up and play something else. And you gave Wayne the wrong impression from that, so that's where I had some inside knowledge here that was getting me excited. But
I just thought he was disappointed with how simple it was.
No,
Okay.
I appreciated in whole Trekking Through History in what it's capable of doing with 30 minutes and non-gamers. But because the audience for that game was you and me, right? A second play of Trekking Through History, I felt would not have given us, especially you since you've played it multiple times before me, any more information, knowledge, anything, talking points even, with regards to Trekking Through History that we didn't get in that first play. So I did not feel that our time, which we only had maybe an hour left before the show started, was valuable enough to waste on playing another game of Trekking Through History, not because of Trekking Through History, but because we had so many other games on our list that we needed to get through for the first time that we had opportunity to play some of those more difficult games.
Yep.
But as soon as you left, that game ended up on my wish list for Amazon to buy, and I'm looking forward to bringing that over at the next family day at the house at the in-laws. I found Trekking Through History to be simple, but not just simple in like, I don't know, Munchkin simple, but like enough where I would enjoy it, and the theme and the history and the work put into the cards, the narratives. Nick, you've got to play it enough to say I want to explore this game, but I wouldn't waste it on a 2-player game of me with another co-host of the show. Like I wouldn't waste it with a Rob, with a Nick, or with even you, Wayne, to say let's spend more energy on this game. That is a game that I want to bring out and watch others play, who aren't as deep in the game as we are. My kids, my in-laws, right, coworkers and friends. Because Nick, you said it. I can't think of a game in my collection that I can teach and start playing as quick as Trekking Through History in my collection. I can't find it. I can't think of it. Not even like, I love saying it, Point Salad. To me, it's one of the entry-level games. But you kind of got to talk about it and get the concept through. Whereas Trekking Through History, you just got to set it up and go. It just makes sense. So you'd be surprised, Wayne, to see how high that game ended up on my welcome. If it wasn't for my play of Trekking Through History, I would have said Ready, Set, Bet should win the Dice Tower Awards for welcoming game. If it wasn't for our play of Trekking Through History. So I'll leave that for another time when we get to talk about our predictions. But that really, really put a dent in my thought that Ready, Set, Bet would be the winner for welcoming game in the Dice Tower Awards.
Nice. All right, cool. And I think it plays well 2 to 4. And at 4, man, you cycle through those cards a lot faster than at 2. So there's different strategies to use. What I found now, I played it a bunch of times at 2 and a bunch of times at 4, and it plays different at 2 and 4. At 2, the cards cycle less, so you can plan ahead and go, okay, I'm going to grab that card and that card and whatever. But at 4, man, it could get around to you and most of that row is refreshed on you, and you're like, "Oh crap! I got to rethink my whole."
Excuse me, which was my only detriment or detractor that I would have given for a 2-player game, is that the cards didn't cycle enough to make a meaningful decision. Right, the majority of the cards were still there at my next turn, as they were on the previous turn. So I really wasn't making a new decision. Because Wayne would have had to figure out how to take multiple turns in between my last turn and the current turn so that I could have multiple new options. And that's where I wanted to see it at a higher player count. So I wasn't willing to waste our precious game time, so many games, so little time, on playing another 2-player game of that.
Gotcha. Yeah, I might at 2 players say, like, after your turn, the card furthest to the left gets flushed and you rotate it through or something like that. Yeah, that's
a great house rule.
Yeah, I played it at 2. That was my only play this weekend. My first and only play was at 2. And I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, I mean, I was able to plan out a lot ahead of time. I think my first run was like 9 cards. My second run was like 7 or 8 cards, and so I had like a 9 and a 7, and then a 3 or 2 or 3 at the end. And I did really well with those long runs. But yeah, 2 players, it'd be a lot easier to predict. It's like, oh, if I take that one, then those 2 are probably still going to be there.
But if the display of cards are no bueno.
Yeah.
If everything is
turned over
where you're at,
you're
not going to see that movement, that cycling of the cards to help you have a better turn. So it kind of feels negative.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? And that's why I want to see it at a higher player count where cards are going away, new cards are being added. And maybe I'm hoping for that new flop.
Yeah.
To say, oh, please flip something before where I'm at.
Yeah.
Well, then we both need to try it again at 3 or 4 then, since we both only played it at 2. Yeah.
But it's a good game. And I
think
that's why,
Nick?
Oh, yeah. I was actually, Carlos, I do agree. It's nice to actually hear you guys talking about this, making me think, rethink some of my stuff. For instance, when we played on Saturday, I very much enjoyed learning and playing the game, but I would agree that at any player count, I didn't need to play Trekking Through History a second time right away.
Right.
It's not like it's, oh my God, this is so great. This is amazing. I need this. I didn't go out and add it to my Amazon wish list. I'm glad I played it, and I appreciate in a game day setting. So I think, Carlos, we're kind of aligned there. In a game day setting, I really do like this notion of I could play 5 one-hour games or 1.5-ish, Wonderland Wars kind of thing. And so in a game day setting, I really liked having that quick and easy play in. But you're right, I had no desire to play it a second time immediately. Right, I would of course play it again. I do think you're right though, is in that a second play would just be more time at the table, right? Just kind of.
Yes. I felt like if Wayne and I played it again, it was just more of the same, right? Where we had the opportunity to play Fantastic Factories and get that off my wish list of games to play.
Are you starting to come my way when I talk about these
Depends on the game.
TI 12-hour games versus 12 one-hour games?
However, before we let Wayne close us out on Trekking Through History, I'll say this. At my in-laws' home, I've left copies of Timeline. Timeline is the game where you draw cards based on historical events, and your goal is to place them into the timeline.
Correct slot.
In between different events so that they fit within that timeline based on those events. I've always felt that game was more of an activity than a board game. Trekking Through History takes that feeling of timeline and turns it into a board game. And that's why it's on my wish list, because that's what I want to bring to my next event at my in-laws' house. My father-in-law, I think, is going to love it. He's loved timelines, which is why I've left copies there at his house, so we always have them available to play. But I think this is going to add that combo-y goodness that Mike Lorenzo talks about. When I do this, it gives me this coin, which triggers these bonus points, and you kind of get that gamey goodness sense of it.
I hope so. Timeline, I like the thinky part of it, that you're trying to figure out where something goes. This doesn't have that at all. I mean, you can see all the options out there, and you can see the dates, and you're just trying to put them in order. So it is definitely a different feel. But yeah, I'd be interested to hear how that goes. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I agree. To sort of finish it out, I agree with what you guys say. It's not the kind of game that I would play 3-4 times in a row, but it is the kind of game that I would, after playing a heavy game and I needed a rethink. That's a quick game that gamers can get in. It's a game you can bring to Thanksgiving and Christmas Day with the family. And I have a 9-year-old, so I love all their games. All of their games. Trekking through history, her story, trekking the national parks, trekking the world. The amount of work, you flip those cards over, you read those cards with your kid, and you're taking a game and making it educational, which I love.
Yeah, good stuff. So, all right, Nick, take us home.
Oh, I mean, I think we're there. We've arrived. Yay! I will say here. You want to end on a controversial note?
Sure.
Okay,
maybe.
the most. I'll admit, I have not probably played most of the Star Wars games that you guys mentioned earlier. I haven't played Rebellion. That's clearly a gap in my playing there. I have played Outer Rim, and I've played then Firefly, the board game. So let's all accept that Malcolm Reynolds is Han Solo.
Sure.
And they don't have the Force, but that game, the Firefly board game, is also pickup and delivery, steeped in pretty rich IP. Obviously not as deep as Star Wars, but everyone loves Firefly, or the cult following.
They should, at least.
Yes. Yeah.
I've been watching it all over again. Like I'm into, I'm deep into Firefly again now.
There's a reason why my son's name is Malcolm.
No way.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, I gotta tell wifey that.
Let's go. But I will say that the game that I would also like to see made is a Star Wars game that actually does make me feel like a Jedi Knight. And maybe I need to do the RPGs. Maybe that's what it is. But a board game. I mean, an approachable board game that is that deeply thematic. Yeah, I am freaking, Luke Skywalker's counterpart, or one of the other Jedis, right?
Campaign game that allows you to level up and add new powers and move from story to story.
You mean Gloomhaven?
No,
not necessarily. But
Nick, what I was thinking, because we were talking about that Star Wars, like what games are missing. Call to Adventure in a Star Wars setting, I think would hit off so well for me. To kind of that balance between light and dark. What was that video game, Star Wars video game, that had that, where your lightsaber would go from like white if you were neutral, or red if you were like dark side, if you did some dark side stuff. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about, Wayne?
Yes. I played that game. It's funny because I was thinking about that. I played that video game, and when I was doing my force jumps and force pushes and lightsaber things, I was like, holy crap, I'm a Jedi. This is awesome. This is fun.
Yeah, but then you force choke the crap out of somebody, and all of a sudden your lightsaber went from like blue to like white to like red. Like, okay, you're going dark side.
I don't know which one that would be.
Well,
I played a lot of them. I don't know.
I played it. It was an online, it was a massive
MMORPG.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't play that one. I think maybe Chris or somebody mentioned that earlier, and I was the Final Fantasy. I did the
depends
Final
on
Fantasy
how your decisions go. Your lightsaber would reflect
Old Republic.
Like, that might have been it.
There you go.
It would reflect like, are you making like dark side decisions?
I don't remember Old. I mean, I played Old Republic, but I don't remember that mechanism. Awesome.
Oh no, it's very much so. Yeah. You have to make decisions, and I'm almost positive. I mean,
But that's what Call to Adventure does. Call to Adventure has a slider bar where, depending on how you're what decisions you're making, whether you're bad guy or good guy, you would tap into the dark side of stuff or like the good side of stuff. So I can see a call to adventure game in the Star Wars world.
That would be phenomenal. So, okay, I'm going to drop. It's 11 o'clock now. I'm going to drop the actual controversial line. I will say the sci-fi board game that did make me feel like I am the thing that I was, playing as was Star Trek Ascendancy.
Oof.
That game, that I know. I played as the Klingon Empire in that game, and man, I was the freaking Klingons. I had my birds of prey. I could cloak. Q would come out and F with people. The Federation were a bunch of like political nonsense, garbage, sweet talkers. The Romulans were scheming and evil, and that was a game that I thought captured that deep IP super well in a way that I haven't played a Star Wars board game. I played Outer Rim, and it's fine. Is it a Star Wars game? I guess, kind of. It's the Star Wars version of the Firefly game, basically, right? I mean,
right.
Yeah.
Pick up and deliver,
that's-
bounty hunt, missions, avoid the Empire, avoid the Federation, kind of a feeling.
But yeah, anyways, that's my controversial ending thought is I'm waiting for a Star Wars game to actually do Star Wars well. And in the meantime, Star Trek has got it.
Sounds like Nick and I need to borrow Rebellion. So
you need to play Rebellion. Rebellion is purely it's the Star Wars story in a box. You're again you can alter things and you can play things differently, but you're playing through the Star Wars movies basically. So yeah.
It's a reason it's the number one rated Star Wars game.
Number 9 all time
in
on BGG. Yeah.
The highest rated Star Wars game.
We're going to stop the presses for a second. Sam, in the chat, you're breaking our hearts here.
Oh my God! Never seen. Well, I can't complain too much. I just watched the whole Firefly series about a year ago, and so I was complete virgin on that until about a year ago.
Travesty of Fox screwing that.
I watched Firefly before. I watched the movies, but it's probably been 6-7 years since I've seen it.
I haven't seen the movie yet.
So
I gotta watch it.
I'm watching them all over again. And Wayne, you'll enjoy this. We were watching. The reason I'm watching it again is because Wifey and I started watching Castle together. So that kind of got me like, oh man, I want to watch some Firefly. What's his name?
Nathan Fillion.
Nathan Fillion, right? So I'm watching. So as she leaves the room to take care of kids, I flip it from Castle to Firefly. So I'll watch like Firefly in between our episodes of Castle. We just got to, Wayne, you're like this. We just got to an episode of Castle for Halloween where Castle comes out and he's dressed as a space cowboy.
Oh, really?
He's character from Firefly.
I haven't seen Castle at all. Yeah.
Dressed
Castle's
up as
good.
Malcolm.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I loved it.
Out of Gas is probably one of the best episodes of television. It's best. That's a fantastic episode of the show. It's one of the best episodes of sci-fi television that you'll see. So,
and put it this way, I don't know episodes by their name, but I know that episode, right? I mean, it's so good. It's that whole show is amazing. Yeah, it's great. Okay, very good. Well, Sam will do a board game and Firefly watching one day marathon. We'll watch the show and then play the game.
Well, I heard the board game's a marathon all by itself.
We could play the board game we could watch the entire series while we play the board game, and it'd be about the same length.
That's what I've heard.
Yep, it's true. It's long. All right. Well, I got you guys past.
Will we see you this weekend at the Your Turn Flea Market?
Yes,
I will be there.
Okay.
High-fiving and helping man a table. Actually, I'm gonna probably put a couple games. Maybe I'll put the Firefly game up on the table. Who knows?
I guess that answers my question. I was going to post up in the group if we were playing. We're still entertaining playing Frosthaven, but sounds like if you're going to be at the flea market, that's a no.
I mean, the flea market only runs until like 2, right?
Yeah, it's 12 to 2 officially. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. We'll take it offline. We'll figure it out.
Yep. Cool. All right.
Good night, Nick.
Thanks for
I appreciate
calling,
your
Nick.
call.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, man. Have a good
night.
I'm gonna be out there, Wayne. I don't know if I have anything to sell. Like I
That's
keep,
fine.
I keep looking at my collection. and I just don't see any games I want to sell.
What's the game you could put? You could sell the Star Wars love letter game.
Oh
Yeah.
He
you
doesn't
go.
sell games.
I don't tend to.
All right. Well,
I'm
I
buying.
figured-
I'm there because I already got games that I'm buying from people. Like I already got commitments to what to
ya?
buy. So I will be there.
I've got a
I
list
just don't
that I'm
know if
looking
I can
forward to
commit
buy.
to
I'm
sell.
looking to buy from a few people too myself. Yeah.
So I'm hoping it works out. I got a game.
If not, I told Nick to bring some games. You to bring some games. You guys can share the table with me. Just whatever. If you have a couple
I'm
games,
so thinking about getting rid of Hero Quest. Like it made it to the table twice, and it's got all the expansions. And I'm thinking, I don't know. I'll take a Big Mac for it at this point because I don't know if I'll ever even play it.
That good, huh?
But the number one reason we're going out there, is Taco Amigos.
Oh,
right there,
Place is
next to
good.
the game, next to a cafe, is a taco joint that has some of the best tamales that I've had in the Tampa Bay area.
I haven't done the tamales, but I'm not a tamale guy. so-
I am a tamale guy all day. I'll get all 4 of them just for me. So I'll see y'all there this weekend. Your turn for the flea market.
Yeah, if we're not doing Frosthaven, I guess I'll plan to be there. I didn't want to go because I can't afford to buy anything, so I don't want to be in that environment if I can't really shop, but I guess I can come hang out. I know there's going to be people there. Muhammad, who I haven't seen
That's part of why I'm
sparingly
going.
in the last couple of years. Muhammad's supposed to be there with the table, so
He said he's got
yeah.
a copy of Heat.
Yeah, well, he's got
So
a whole list of
I'm
games.
picking up
yeah.
a copy of Heat from him.
There you go.
Pedal
Is
to
that
the metal.
Heat pedal to the metal or the older
Yeah.
version? Older
No,
game? Heat.
I sent him a message. I said, "Is that Heat pedal to the metal?" He said, "Yes." I said, "I will see you there."
Oh
Yeah.
man!
So I'm gonna scoop
See,
that up.
I hope you like it better than I did, but
I
yeah.
saw that list and I thought there's another game from Heat that's from like 10 years ago, 15 years ago. So I assumed it was that and not Heat.
All
Pedal
I
to the
know
Metal.
is he might be getting me on this one. It could
Oh,
be that
yeah.
game, but I'm willing to risk it,
Yeah.
Okay.
especially for some tamales. I'm down for whatever. Wayne, we were in the middle of talking about your
Top 20.
updated top 20
Yeah,
list. I turned
we
off the
were.
phone lines,
We can.
so there won't be any more calls.
Do you want to
show
kick
is
it?
yours.
I mean, you want to keep going, or you want to kick it?
No, I'm not going to kick it.
right.
We're committed to finishing up your top 20.
All right. Let me share my screen real quick then.
And then, we'll wrap up. I'll finish my beer and I'm going to go watch some more Castle
There you
before
go.
bed.
All right, I'm going to share my screen then. So.
William says he's going to be there. That's awesome. I haven't had a chance to meet him. And then he throws in the maybe.
Maybe.
That's all right. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. You want to put me live there? There we go. Hey, what's going on? That's weird. There we go. So I update, I update the end of the month unlike you guys that update like ongoing, which is cool. But so first you're saying there's the 7 game. I had 7 new games hit my top 20 list this month, which was kind of crazy. It's the biggest movement I think of so far the first 4 months of the year. So those are the games that fell off: Azul, New York Zoo, Endless Winter, Foundations of Rome, Elder Sign, Seven Wonders Duel, and Jaipur. All fell off my list. Now they're all fantastic games, and I own most of them except for Endless Winter and Foundations of Rome, but I'd play any of them again in a heartbeat. So those are all pretty good. But hitting my number 20 spot is Distilled. I got a play of it at the
Wow,
game day.
it reached 20.
Yeah, so it's not gonna be on my list very long.
Yeah,
But,
maybe just a 1 week, 1 month
yeah, 1
showing.
month thing. Yeah, but it was really fun. I think Distilled actually knocked off Foundations of Rome. It was like one of the last games that I was like, I really want this on my list, and so to me, it hit for the theme alone. The drinking and distilling and the spirits and kind of like understanding how all that works. The theme really hit. It was a really solid game. It just didn't wow me like I wanted it to the point where I'm glad I didn't do the Kickstarter. I was going to go all in on the Kickstarter and I ended up not pulling the trigger on it, but it was a really fun game. I would definitely play it again in a heartbeat. Just, I think for the price, I don't know if I would own it for the price. 19 is still Karuba. That's been on the list for a while. It's a great game that you can play with gamers. You can play it with young kids. And it's the one where you're
Pitch
laying
car, right?
no, it's you're laying tie. That's Carabunde or something. Karuba is the one where you're it's a Phil Walker Harding, maybe, I think. If not, you're laying tiles to go through the dungeon you're going from the beach, your campsite to the different monuments and temples.
Yep.
And you can either play the tile or throw the tile out for movement, and you're collecting treasures running through the dungeons, through the jungle. Really good game. Number 18, Wonderland's Lore. Played that this weekend or last weekend. fantastic theming. Loved it. You
Yeah.
know, it was a great game. I like the idea that it's kind of got two phases. You're doing the tea party and then you're doing the war, which is great. Yeah, Haba game. Thank you, Samantha.
Area control.
Area control. Again, a great game, but similar to Distilled, similar to similar to Endless Winter, similar to Foundations of Rome. The production is fantastic and it's beautiful games, right? But man, that price, like to own the game, like I think that's where it doesn't hit higher for me, because the entry level to own that game is a little much.
So I'm glad I have a Nick who owns it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like I know people that own all these games, and I'll play them all in a heartbeat. So number 17, Res Arcana. We've that's been on the list for a while. Obviously the highlighted ones are my new games. We've talked about that a few times on the show. So we'll skip there. Ticket to Ride 10th anniversary is falling down. I love Ticket to Ride. That 10th, really the only reason why they made the list probably is because it's that really fancy 10-year anniversary edition with the cool trains and the big board and things like that. So that probably won't end up on the top 20 as the year goes by. Number 15, Fantastic Factories. A game that Carlos and I played 2-player, and I think it hit higher and above Res Arcana because of the speed of play. Yep. And it just, the big icons and just the real entry, you can get into it a lot easier. I think Res Arcana might be a little bit more, not involved, but a little bit more. You have to really try to work to figure out the efficiencies in an engine and as you're building your cards and collecting the resources, whereas Fantastic Factories is pretty straightforward.
There's a reason why Fantastic Factories hasn't made it to my board yet, and it's because I want to see more of the cards. I think, Wayne, you and I got to maybe half the deck or more. But I want to see the combinations of the cards to see, will the combinations of the cards, does it provide enough depth? But it was very hard for me not to put it on my list right up front on that one play.
I think
glad to see it on your list.
Yeah, I think it would only go up in if I played it a few more times, it'd probably go up even more. Yep. Number 14, Biblios. The three of us played this a couple weeks back, and to the point where I've already claimed a game. I know that somebody's selling, Daryl's selling his copy at the flea market, and I already called messaged him and said, I want it.
Right choice. I like it.
Good call.
Because y'all made me mad and pulled a Wayne on me, where you bring an old game that's out of print and you teach it to everyone, and everyone, you want it, and then I go home and I look at
Can't find it.
I can't find it.
Yep.
That's my job.
It's a good one.
Old games that people play. Yeah, but I really liked it. Portability, lots of play, good decisions. That the whole bidding, but you take one, put one for bid. Really cool. I liked it. Great game. Viticulture World's been on my list. We played that a few times. My wife and I really like it. It's hard. We haven't even gotten to the other continents yet. So that game has a lot of playability, I think, because it's just going to be challenging.
I was just thinking about that game today because I listened to the Secret Cabal Express episode where they did a designer focus on Jamie Segmeyer.
Yep.
And it made me think, you know what? Instead of trying to win each of the viticulture worlds, I'm just going to skip to the next one. Right?
Yeah. Just play through.
Just to see what if, just play it. Like, why try to beat each world? There's, I think, 8 of them. Why not just skip to the next one and move on?
Because you're a completionist. I'm a completionist.
Yeah.
Yep.
Crusaders down to 12th. I need some more plays in person, I think, to move it up again. It's a really good game. I have come to the conclusion playing it a bunch on BGA. I don't like the expansion.
See, I like it better without the expansion. Yep, I agree.
Yeah, I like it better without the expansion. It gets a little too involved with the expansion and a little too much, but yeah, I really like it. Wingspan Asia has been on my list for a while. And really sort of Wingspan Asia and Viticulture World are almost, that's Wingspan and Viticulture, right? I would think, that those games are great. They're in my top games of all time. Anytime you tell me to play anything Wingspan or Viticulture, I'm down. So, and I like the 2-player yin and yang thing of the Asia expansion. Although now I hear you guys need to play some Oceania. I'm down for that because I love the nectar mechanism. So
I want to play it.
Yep.
Yeah, that Wingspan Asia and that Viticulture World are great for when you're playing just you and wifey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Barron Park's up there. I love, that Phil Walker Harding. Praise be, man. I love that.
Praise be.
Praise be. I love the game, simplicity. And I think I was hoping that New York Zoo would be similar. And I really do like New York Zoo, but Barron Park just hits like that perfect. And the expansion adds little pieces you can add to it, which add to the complexity of the game. The challenges are kind of cool. So I really like the advanced versions of the game. So it definitely hits the table quite a bit. Nidavellir has been on my list for a while. It's a really good game. Another game that I'm not so sure I like all the expansions. It adds a little over complexity to the game.
Agree.
I think Nidavellir is a great game. That bidding mechanism, the changing out. I think both Nidavellir and Crusaders are really good without the expansions. Number 8, Tyrants of the Underdark. So this game just hit for me, guys. It was, again, another game you guys pulled to me. Showed me this game there's a new version of it, but the new version is not as cool as the old version.
Yeah.
But this game was cool. Area control. It's the Underdark. It's D&D theme, so it hits with me. I love the card play and the area control and the way you score the points. It was really cool. I enjoyed the deck building aspect of it, and I really like the idea that, unlike a lot of the deck builders, when you're culling your deck, you're just basically getting rid of cards. I love how when you cull cards here, they become points. They become victory points. And so there is a point in the game where you may want to start culling some really good cards, because when they get culled, it's worth a lot of victory points. I thought that was a unique thing. I can't really think of very many games that when you cull cards from a deck builder, the cards actually become powerful or give you benefits after they're culled, which was kind of cool.
I can't believe nobody else has done that.
Yeah. It seems like almost a no-brainer.
I love that part about it. Like, oh, I really love this dragon, but you know what? Goodbye. You're going to my inner circle.
He's worth 6
I'm
in
going to
my
count you
inner
for
circle instead of 2 in my hand. Yep.
So Raiders of the North Sea's up there. It's definitely one of my all-time favorites. That's been on my list for a while since I played it earlier this year. Mansions of Madness. My wife and I like playing co-op games together, so that game hits just the theme. We like the whole world that builds, and the app integration, I think, really makes that game sing. That's sort of where I think any of those Cthulhu games, we like them all. We own most of them, but Mansions of Madness will hit higher just because of that app and the music and the integration really kind of puts you in the mood for playing that game. Zolkin, played this earlier this year. Love it. I'm looking. There's a couple of copies for sale at the flea market this weekend, so I'm probably going to pick up a copy to own myself because I really enjoyed it. I love that, like that gear mechanism as the longer you leave something on, the better it is. But sometimes you need to take that piece back because you have to either play a piece or pull a piece. So it's like, which one do you pull and how do you play that? So it's really pretty cool. I enjoy that game quite a bit. And then my number 4.
Wow,
good one.
All the way to 4.
Good one.
Yeah.
It's a good game.
Comic Hunters is awesome, man.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I can't wait for the US version.
Now I'm a little jealous that I didn't jump in on that game.
It's good.
I played Mosaic instead.
Yeah,
because better the game I know than the game I don't know. But it sounds like I missed out on this.
Marvel theme. It's collecting comics, set collection, and you can have little tags. It has variable setup. But it's in the line of like trekking, right? Where you can teach that game. There's like 5 mechanisms. There's, you go to the auction, you do this, that, done. So there's 5 or 6 simple mechanisms in the game, and you're collecting the tags and you score victory points. So you could teach the game in like 10, 15 minutes, and you can play it in 30 minits, 30, 40 minutes, 45 minutes maybe. So it's really quick playing, and it's, just a cool theme. It hit, and I know that there we go, Nerdy Wiz. I like it. Tolkien top 10. My wife would love this game because she collected comics. Her dad was a comic collector, so she would get it. I know that once I get a copy of this game, she's gonna love it. I love it. It's so quick to play. I know they keep talking about a new American release. We'll see when that's going to happen. But I know I've told the story. I think I told Rob one of my next door neighbors is from Brazil. And I said, hey, are you planning to go back anytime soon? He's like, oh yeah. As soon as when school's over, we're going to take the kid and go visit the grandma who lives in Brazil. I said, okay, let me show you this picture.
Find this game.
I said,
smuggle it back in your luggage.
Give me a couple of them. I'll pitch in on that.
Get a couple copies. Get a couple copies.
He's like, what is it? I said, it's a board game. It's called Comic Hunters. Here's what it looks like.
He said, nerd.
When you go down there, he's like, what is this? I'm like, yes, it's a board game. You have to go. So go to a game store. And then the other day, his son, who's the same age as my son, was over. I'm like, Daniel, I told your dad that he needs to go to a game store.
You're reminding him through the kid. Don't let your dad screw this up.
I said, Daniel, if you can bring a copy of this game back for me, I'm gonna, you can get whatever. You can have.
I can imagine it right now in the news.
Yeah,
Tampa man arrested, like mule carrying like cards and tokens in his body that he
Well,
swallowed.
Well, well, Carlos has got a point, even though he wants a copy. But if you can get 2 or 3 or 4
Oh,
copies
I know you
back,
can sell it for like
you could sell it
$200
for a
right now.
ton
Yeah.
here right now.
I'm not worried
probably.
about the price. I just want to get a copy
Yeah.
of it because I don't know. I'm assuming it's going to get a U.S. release. I know Tom and other people have hinted at it
Yeah.
when that's going to happen and what capacity. But yeah, I want a copy because it's really pretty language independent once you know the
Yep.
symbol. So Comic Hunters
Newlyweds are saying, one for us,
one
please.
for us, please.
Oh,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yep. It was really good. It hit. That's why it almost went. I mean, it 4. It went pretty high for me. Yeah.
Yep.
Number 3,
Concordia.
Concordia.
Classic. Yeah.
Yep.
Love that game.
Agree.
Yep. And so that was the only reason why Comic Hunters isn't at 3 is because I placed Comic Hunters first at 3, and then I was like, oh, Concordia. Oh, sorry, gotta go down one
Bump.
because that's again.
Did
one
we
of my
play the Britannia map that day?
We played the Boot of
No.
Italy, right?
The Italy one.
Yep.
I think we
Yeah.
did 4 players, Italy.
Yep.
My wife and I played Britannia the next day. It's good. It's nice and tight. At 3 players, Britannia is very tight.
Gotta give that one a shot. Yeah. So
Yeah, we got to do that one.
Yep. So Comic Hunters, Concordia, and then number 2, Brass Birmingham, which you guys both have as your number 1, which I've. It's a great game. I still want to play Lancashire with you guys, just so you can see the difference between the two.
Need to play it.
Yeah, and then number 1 is Castles of Burgundy. So that's
Nice.
that's my top 20. It was tough. Comic Hunters was at 3 until and then it took me a while. It was really hard to determine between Concordia or Comic Hunters on what would be 3 and 4. But yeah, Concordia went at 3 just because I could play Comic Hunters a lot, but I don't like. It's almost Concordia is like the game you play. It's like that big game, and then Comic Hunters is the game you play after just to refresh your mind before you go to the next game. So it's a great filler game.
Yeah.
I got to say, it was nice to see Wayne with all that movement. He's been because he's been coming over lately to play games. So
Yeah.
He hasn't had his Excel spreadsheet with him. With him.
Yeah. Give him a chance to move some stuff. Put some
I
stuff.
do like the idea of that, like maybe once a month update,
Well,
because it provides so much more movement.
yeah, you got to update it as we go, though, because I think if I tried to do it once a month, I'm trying to remember the game that I played 3 or 4 weeks ago.
We're
and
getting
how to-
old, aren't we?
How to
Yeah.
rank it? Yeah.
It's
So,
tough.
yeah, I like
I have-
doing it
I
when
have
it's a
this-
little fresher. Yeah.
I have the board game Mosaic calendar, which I'll plug that if it's on Kickstarter now. The board game Mosaic calendar is awesome because it's got the spot where you write your games played, and so it's in my game room. And every time I have a game day or anytime I go somewhere and I come home, I write down the games I played, and on the sheet there's all these cool little monthly challenges in it. So it's really helped me kind of track. And then at the end of the month, I just take a snapshot of it and go to my Excel, and here's all the games I played, and now I got to rank them. So it's a really cool. It's a beautiful calendar.
Nice.
So if you have a game room, I highly recommend going out and checking it out. It's only like $20 or something, not even. So it's well worth it. So.
And for you folks at home on our Discord, we have a channel where you get to post up your top 20 games played in 2023.
And lots of people are doing it. There's people putting stuff up almost every day on there.
Yeah, I get to tell Jim Modak how he's wrong every time he updates his list.
Let's do stuff on there. Nice.
Join us on our Discord.
Be nice.
Share your top 20 games played in 2023. The rules are you can only put a game on there if you played it in 2023. It doesn't have to be a 2023
Let me help you out. It's getting
title,
late.
but it has to have been played on the table in 2023. And then if you want to move it, you can only move it if you give
Play
it
it
another
again.
play.
Play it again.
You want to move it, you got to play it again.
Yep.
And then you get to post your list on our top 20 in the Discord channel.
Absolutely.
Yep. We love watching y'all post your top 20s for 2023.
We should mention briefly, speaking of Discord, we just wrapped up the Seven Wonders Architects tournament. So we're doing random tournaments on there. Or shouldn't say random. We're doing regular tournaments on there on Board Game Arena, BGA. So congratulations to our winner, which was, who knows who won that?
Mitchell.
Mitchell, that's right. Mitchell won.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We'll take that away.
Mitchell Prudhomme. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
He doesn't get credit till he comes back on the show.
Yeah, I believe Kristen finished second. So I think it was 1 point apart, maybe
Yeah, so it
in
was
the
close.
final. Yeah, it was really close. And so we're looking at our next game. I know people have thrown out some suggestions for what we play next, but we're looking for fairly quick, snappy games that we can get through a tournament in a couple of weeks, maybe a month or so. But we're looking at lining up our summer tournament, and we are in the final race of our GT.
Rallyman GT.
Rallyman GT game. So I'm getting my ass handed to me in the final of that. So I think I'm in 4th out of 6 in that final race, but we're going to get that wrapped up soon. So that one's been a long time. I know we've been playing that one for months, but we're finally going to get that one wrapped up.
And we do have a poll going where members of the community can vote which game they think is going to win each category in the Dice Tower Awards.
Thanks to Wayne for that.
Yep. I'll be putting up Origin Awards and the BGG Awards soon. I think I'll wait for the BGG. We'll probably wait till they're going to narrow it down to like top 3. I'll probably wait for that and then put that up. But the Origin Awards came out last week too, so I'll put those up as a poll. Yep.
Awesome.
And then what I want to do is actually get back to doing real tournaments in person. Like I really, really, really want to do a
Crokinole.
Well, might as well just give you the trophy.
Oh yeah. Well,
I want to do like a Castles of Burgundy tournament in person, like at one of our game days. Like, everybody brings their copy. We set up some matches and then kind of wind down until we get one last game.
They can play other games. Yeah.
Some Thunder Alley, Ethnos.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Let's do it.
All right, folks. Any other thoughts or updates, Wayne, Rob, for the folks at home before we head out?
I don't think so. We're well past the 11 o'clock hour, so I think I'm good.
Yeah.
This weekend will be at your turn.
Yes, for the flea market on Sunday, kind of the last hurrah for shutting down Your Turn. This will be their last formal event. I know they're, I think, wrapping up all the memberships and everything now. So this may be the last hurrah. I know Dan posted a photo of the games from his nearly 3,000 game collection that he's took home. It looked like he had a U-Haul truck that looked like it was over 1,000 games that he took home that he's keeping, but that he's is selling this weekend the rest of them, which has got to be, near 2,000 games. So if you're looking for games, definitely make it out to Your Turn Sunday, noon to 2 o'clock, unless you're a member. If you're a paid member of Your Turn, it's 11:30. I think they're allowing people to come in. Members, and he's still got a couple of tables left, he said. So if somebody's still looking to get a table to sell, if you're a member, I think it's free. If you're not a member, it's $10 to get the table for the day or for the 2 hours. And probably going to be quite a few people there Sunday. I know a lot of people are coming just again for the last hurrah there for Your Turn to see him off. But be there Sunday if you're looking for games. And I know Dan is selling all of his retail inventory, he said, at or near cost. Ooh, so if you're looking for that stuff, I'm looking maybe to pick up some Final Girl.
Yeah, Final Girl.
Yeah, exactly. So, so be there Sunday.
All right. Well, I'll see y'all in person Sunday because I'm looking forward to picking up some games, maybe grabbing some Final Girl. Rob, you got to decide on which expansions you buy, which ones I buy, so that we can swap.
Keep them separated.
And not overlap. All right, folks, that's going to do us for our show tonight. Wayne, thanks for sharing your top 20.
Thanks.
For all the callers who called in, we thank you for taking the time to call us to talk about what you've been up to.
Participate.
We really do appreciate it. We will catch you all next Thursday on the Beans and Dice podcast, a podcast about
how we game. Good night, everybody.
Thanks for watching the Beans and Dice podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Tell your friends about what we're doing here. Share with your people out there so they can get an opportunity to call in and tell us about what they're doing. We'll catch you all next week. Good night, everybody.